I call to order the special meeting for June 22nd, 2026 for the Adrian City Commission. If everyone would please rise for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Michelle, when we go to ask questions, we may want to get turned up because I know I'm not very loud and we already know I'm loud normally. Okay, thanks. Roll call, please.
Mayor Heath,
Present.
Commissioner Roberts,
Present.
Commissioner Zeig,
Present.
Commissioner Banky,
Present.
Commissioner Moore,
Present.
Commissioner Schwartz,
Present.
Commissioner Cheshire.
Present.
All commission members present.
We will begin our interviews now. So Amy, if you want to come up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm pleased to present to you Jason Smith, candidate for City Administrator.
Jason, before we begin asking questions I just want us all to introduce ourselves to you.
Absolutely.
So welcome to Adrian. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I am Mayor Angie Sword Heath. Excuse my raspy voice. I was at a wedding for my son this weekend, so.
Oh, you got to live it up.
Well, I did a lot of driving, so in a couple days. So, but we'll start down here with Commissioner Banky and we'll just come down the line and everybody can introduce themselves.
Bob Banky.
Good afternoon.
Tiffany Zeig.
Mary Roberts,
Aaron Cheshire.
Chip Moore.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
So we'll begin with some questions and then at the end, you'll have some time to say a few things about yourself if you would like, anything that you would like to wrap up with. So we'll start with Commissioner Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. You may be aware that I was elected because the point of sale issue that faced this city. And my question is Adrian is focused on blight removal and redevelopment. Describe your experience with similar initiative and how you approach a blight elimination and attracting business to strengthen our tax base and economy.
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner. That is something that I'm actually very passionate about. My master's program, throughout most of it, I focused very heavily on zoning, code ordinance, code enforcement, form-based code versus Euclidean zoning, building codes, and blight enforcement. When I was the mayor in the city of Jackson, we sort of ruled with an iron fist, but we had to. We had housing stock for 66,000 people in a population of 33,000. So it started off behind the eight ball already. And then after 2008, it got progressively worse. And we found ourselves in a vicious cycle of people purchasing homes that were vacant, not really doing a whole lot, just barely getting them up to code, renting them out cheap, letting the homes get destroyed, bringing them barely back up to code again, and just repeating the cycle until it just got too expensive for them to rent out or to fix up. And then they would let it go to back taxes and it would sit there because nobody wanted it. And it would just fall further and further and further behind. So we really started to crack down on that. We introduced the non-owner occupied ordinance, blight enforcement. We really started to crack down on that. Whether it was grass, it was junk, it was siding, roofing, all of those things. We didn't care who you were or where you were. I mean, I even had the building director come to me and say, "Hey, your lawn's getting a little long. It's not quite there where we're going to enforce it yet, but get out and mow." And they didn't care. And we had to do that because we had no choice. Then as the years have gone on with the inspection program and people understood how things worked and what the expectations were, they were able to back off a little bit. When I got to Litchfield, as my first role as a city manager, one of the things that I wanted to address was blight. It was something that had become a problem. They were a little bit more of a rural community, so that sort of ruling with an iron fist kind of strategy just didn't really work out. And so we kind of had to do a mixed bag, right? We had to let people know and understand that there were rules that were going to be enforced, but we weren't going to be kind of as hardcore, like you've got 7 days to do this, and if you don't do it, it's a $150 fine, and then we're going to come and do it and charge you for the privilege. So it was more of a friendly, neighborly. There's 1,400 people. Everybody knew everybody. Knock on the door. Hey, can you clean up that pile of branches you got laying around from the last storm? Or hey, you've got a bunch of garbage on the side of your house. Can you pick it up and take care of it for us? And then, all right, we'll check back in a week. Then when I got to Belleville, it was sort of in between, right? We had some frequent flyers that would continually sort of not necessarily abuse the process, but would get up right to that line and then would take care of things. So I sort of brought in that more neighborly approach to them and say, hey, it's so much easier if you just keep this up and we don't have to keep coming back and coming back and coming back. And so that seemed to work for me. And so to answer your question sort of long-windedly, blight is an important thing, the broken window theory. Nobody wants to be the worst house on the block. So once you start to enforce that, whether it's with a heavy hand or a little bit more neighborly, then it becomes a race to not be the worst house on the block. And then you bring out programs to help with that, whether it's, low income programming. And I saw a flyer for that somewhere for the city where there's funding available for low income people to help with fixing their homes and things like that. We did that in Eaton Rapids as well, where we had some CDBG funding that we used for that. We also dedicated some funding in Jackson to rehab homes and sort of work our way with the low hanging fruit, stuff that could be easily rehabbed and sold, stuff that needed to be demolished. So it's really that finding that balance where you're not swinging the pendulum too far one side or the other, and getting that rolling. And then the broken window theory kicks in. And it's the same with the business side too. You can do vacant, foreclosed, and abandoned property registry, require them to have it registered. If there's problems with the building, then you call the person that's in charge of that building, make sure that they get it taken care of. You can incentivize them in some way rather than being punitive, in terms of incentivizing them having their building filled with a tenant of some sort. And you kind of work your way out from there, and that kind of spurs on that economic development, whether it's transitioning someone from a food truck to a brick and mortar restaurant, or somebody working out of their basement or their living room, and encouraging them to move in and incentivizing that property owner to do that. You're welcome.
How do you translate the commission's priorities into clear and achievable mandates for staff? Describe your experience with strategic planning and taking a broad plan and implementing that into specific tasks for staff.
Sure. And this is something that I've done with every council that I've worked with in every community I've been in. In January, we sit down and we dedicate one council meeting to strictly strategic planning for the year. Whether you're an elected official, and I've been in those chairs before, or you're an administrator, everybody knows, infrastructure, fix the roads, fix the sidewalks, fix the sewers, fix the water, right? But when you really dive down, it's okay, which streets do we want to fix specifically this year? What do we want to attack this year specifically? And we would start that process in January. And I ask council, don't give me broad strokes, like fix sidewalks. Be specific. I want these sidewalks in front of this house fixed. I want this street fixed. I want this park addressed. I want this specific thing within this specific park addressed. And then the council would then, I gave them all, it was very low tech with it. Here's 3 stickers. This color is your first choice. This color is your second choice. This color is your third choice. And then we would vote. And whichever one got the most first place votes would then become a priority for staff. So now we know, okay, yes, streets are a priority for this commission, but this specific street is one we want to target this year. Can we do it? Or do we need to start moving strategically toward, whether it's coming up with the funding to do it, or getting the engineering started and getting it out for bid if we have the funding available to do it. And then you kind of roll downhill from here. And then you also take some of those other low hanging fruit types of things, fix this sidewalk, in front of this house, that's something that Public Works can knock out in a day or so, and get that squared away. Okay, that we can check off the list. Now, council knows which direction we're headed. Staff knows which direction we're heading. There's no ambiguity. It's no fix the streets, but really the commission wants these streets fixed, but the team wants these streets fixed. And so now we know exactly where we're headed, what direction we're moving in. And if it's something that cannot be done that year, then you start your strategic planning in that direction. And it seemed to work very, very well for me.
My first question is, how do you evaluate and manage employee performance and hold people accountable?
I am a firm believer in not micromanaging people. It drives me nuts. I can't stand it. I don't think really anybody enjoys being micromanaged, but I tend to be an administrator that is more of a leader that let me know what tools you need to be successful. I will do my best to get them for you. I will advocate to the commission for you on your behalf to get those things for you. If there's additional training you need, or if there's additional resources that you need, or additional equipment that you need, I will advocate as much as I can to get those things for the team. But with that comes the expectation. We are all grown-ups. We all know what our responsibilities are every day. And my expectation is that you do those. And if you cannot manage that, then I have to step in. Then we have those conversations. Is it something personal that's going on in your life and you just need some time to refocus, come back, you're burned out, want to go on vacation, whatever the case may be? Or if it's something a little more into, maybe you're in the wrong role and you're better suited for a different role somewhere else within the organization. So it's putting the right people in the right place at the right time, giving them the right resources, the right equipment, and the right tools to be successful. But then with that comes the responsibility to accomplish the goals that both the commission and myself have set for the community.
Thank you.
Describe a time when a city project you were managing faced significant public opposition or political pressure. How did you address the concerns while keeping the project on track?
Oh, I hope I don't open a can of worms here, but it wasn't so much of a project, more so, well, I have two examples. One was a project and one was more of an ordinance. The ordinance was chickens. And I'm sure I'm opening a huge can of worms in every community that anybody ever. We had a couple of residences that had several roosters. They were very annoying to the resident. You live in a city that's in Belleville specifically. It was 2.2 square miles. Everybody's kind of right on top of each other. We're a lakefront community. Roosters aren't the most ideal pet to have in your backyard, especially if you've got neighbors that work nights or whatever. So that became a huge bone of contention because we had to completely rework our animal ordinance to include chickens. And then it was, well, what about these things? And what about these things? And it just kept piling on to the point where I think at one point, one of the drafts had, you weren't allowed to keep a jaguar in your house. Like, I don't know. It was just, it went completely off the rails and most of the public opposed it. So we were able to work with the public and workshop it and dial it back in to get it to a more reasonable space. But on the project side of things, when I was the city manager in Litchfield, we were preparing to do our CDBG project for a park. They had torn out their pool. It had gone well beyond its useful life. They were struggling to have lifeguards that were attentive. And so it made the most sense. And then the county came in and said, you guys got to take this out. So they took out the pool, buried it. I think literally the day I started was the day they put grass seed down on the spot where the pool was. So that was the biggest bone of contention with the community, was they wanted their pool back. Pools are insanely expensive to maintain, to staff, to keep properly operating. So that was completely out of the question. And it didn't really do me any favors with the community, but we worked together when we were talking about the project. We wanted to tear out the bathhouse and rebuild it with effective restrooms and concession spaces, and something that the community could enjoy that was water-based, but also didn't require us to have a lot of staffing and a lot of maintenance. So we found a company that provided splash pads that had a lot of moving water, but it wasn't standing water, so there was very little water to reduce our risk. We weren't required to keep a lifeguard on duty. You hit a button, it would run for half an hour and then it would stop. And anecdotally, when I started doing research on it, a lot of the communities that had this system, the kids loved it because there was a big race to go see who could push the button first. And so we put that in, and the public hated it at first. They had no interest in doing this. It's either this or we find something else to put here. The pool is just flat out not an option. So either we go green space and we just leave it the way it is, or we kind of meet halfway and we do this splash pad. And eventually, they sort of resolved to that fact that the pool was not going to happen. And we continue to, again, workshop and have those conversations with the community, and the council members would talk to their neighbors and stuff like that. And we finally were able to work it out. We added some playground equipment for some of the older kids, and it worked out really well. So.
Thank you.
Mhm.
In your research of Adrian, what is the current concern, or what are the current concerns that you feel need to be managed the moment you start to, if given the position?
Well, I think we all know the biggest answer to that one. So I obviously the situation that's kind of blown up is the water issue. Whether it's looking into equipment that needs to be purchased. If we kick up the activated charcoal, we look at I forget the name of it now. I wrote it down in my notes. Actually, this is why I take notes. Peroxone. So ozone and hydrogen peroxide is a chemical that can really attack some of the more tougher odors and flavor or taste of the water. And you can treat that through the water treatment plant. So that was one of the biggest things I dove into, was that. And then just driving around the neighborhoods. And I've been in town a few times now and driven around and looked at downtown both and the neighborhoods as well. And there's some code enforcement that needs to be addressed. There's also a few minor things that you can do, like the vacant property registry. There was a house specifically, I forget the name of the road, escapes me, but it looked abandoned. It was unsecured. There were doors open, there were windows open, and having that registry and that requirement to properly have the building secured and have all the doors either plexiglassed or boarded up, whatever, would have helped that out a little bit. So that was something else. And then there's a few roads that need to be addressed, but one of them that I drove on was already in the process of being done. Like the curbs had been redone and everything. So, and then there's a couple of the white whales. You've always got the issue with the mall and how that impacts economic development, and the issue with Siena Heights and how that impacts. You're losing several thousand students who spend their money downtown and come in and enjoy everything that the city has to offer, and how we're going to replace that from an economic development driver. And so those are some of the things that kind of popped up on my radar for sure.
Describe your experience with creating and managing municipal budgets. How big was the budget, and was the budget growing or shrinking? Over your time with that municipality, were you able to grow the fund balance or grow the deficit?
Sure. With the city of Litchfield, we grew the budget 7%. We did it in a number of different ways. I'm a grant hunter at heart. I love to go hunting for grants. Litchfield had never had a CDBG grant before. My first grant with them was $1 million CDBG grant. So I like to swing for the fences, but I'm also keeping my eye on some of the smaller stuff. And so that we also did a little bit of it wasn't really a clawback, but a clawback from our TIF district. They had created the TIF district when the area was just a field, and then they're one of the largest districts of employment in the entire county, in Hillsdale County. So you can imagine how much revenue they generate from that TIF capture. So we worked with them to bring some of that revenue back to us to help with the infrastructure, especially with the businesses that were there. They required a lot of our water use. They were requiring a lot of our energy. A lot of our time and attention was to that TIF district. So they were willing to work with us to get some of those funding back. And then we worked with our assessor. We had contracted with the assessor, and we felt like we weren't getting quite the value that we had thought with the assessments. They weren't being regularly updated. We wanted to make sure when a new business came in, that got uncapped right away so we could generate some of that revenue that way. In Belleville, we had an insanely large fund balance. And I believe it was 130% when I started, which it will raise some very large red flags with the state if you let your fund balance run that high for too long. And why are you not spending money? They wanted to build a city hall. And so we continue to grow the budget again through grants, and then obviously our assessment values and increasing and all of that. But we kind of maintained for a little while, but we were able to pull the trigger. We got enough funding available to pull the trigger on getting a new city hall and renovating and everything. Um, and so we did that without, much to my chagrin. I wanted to bond either the renovation or the purchase, but city council wanted to do it without taking on debt and without raising taxes. So we were able to do that and get City Hall up and running. I think they just moved in a couple of months ago, like February or March, I believe. So and everything seems to be going great. I still communicate with the chief of police over there and a couple of the staff members that I was close to, and they said things are looking great over there in the new building. So I was glad we were able to do that. But when I was coming up as an economic development director, my city manager always told me, always know your numbers. So I'm sorry in advance, but the finance directors usually got very annoyed by me when I was in their office all the time. And do we have the funding for this? What does the budget look like if we go this route? And having that person in my ear that can say no, right? Because it's my job to advocate for staff, and Public Works comes to me and says we need a $300,000 dump truck. Cool, let's do it. I need somebody in my ear to say, let's plan this out a little better rather than just jumping to cutting a check. So always know your numbers. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Gonna ask mine out of order because I feel that Angie's question and my question were a little similar. Given our history with transitions, can you explain why you think you have the capacity to last as the city administrator?
Sure. I really enjoy working in larger communities. When I was the mayor of Jackson, the city manager had to sit me down and say, stay in your lane a little bit. You're getting a little sideways here. So administrating on a day-to-day basis in a larger community is something that I've aspired to. And when you get into this field, it's not something that you just dive on into. You learn a lot of hard lessons along the way in smaller communities where I don't mean this in a negative way, but you can make mistakes and they're not horrible mistakes. And along with that, comes that learning curve. Okay, I know I need to do this differently. I know I need to do this differently. Thankfully, I've had a lot of really strong mentors. My city manager in Jackson, my city manager when I was in Eaton Rapids, and then a few retired city managers that I lean on quite heavily for advice and what do I do in this situation? And having membership with the Michigan Municipal Executives opens that door to having those conversations with literally every city manager in the state. And there's usually not a situation that they haven't run into. So you can put it out on the listserv and say, hey, I've got a problem. How do I address this? Whether it's something as simple as I've got a city council person who won't leave my parks director alone. They want this and this and this and this, and it's getting in the way of the actual priorities. Or I have this huge legal fiasco. How do we handle it? Did anybody have something similar? So I lean on my colleagues quite a bit when it comes to the learning curve, and but my passion is really for both on the economic and neighborhood development side and the administrative side, working in a larger community. So I think the lessons that I've learned translate well to that. And the temperament that I feel like I can bring to that role in terms of my management style is calming, sets a culture, and allows us to build a lot of momentum very quickly.
What research have you done on Adrian's strength, challenges, demographics, and opportunities? Why are you specifically interested in leading Adrian?
That's an excellent question, Commissioner. So a lot of the strengths, you have a wonderful partner in Adrian College, and you had a wonderful partner in Siena Heights as well. So that is always something that is attractive to a city manager when you have sort of those larger organizations, whether it's a university or a business, those relationships are always huge, and you want to continue to build on those because when you have a large business, like we had in Jackson, we had a few of them in Litchfield. We had a number of large industrial companies. They want the community that they're in to thrive. They want it to be a nice place for their employees to live and work and play. So they're always willing to be a voice at the table for you. So one of the strengths that I saw here was some of the more positive momentum, and like I had talked to the team earlier this morning. A few years back, the outside noise, the outside sort of reputation was, kind of keep your distance. And that has started to change over the last handful of years. And there's been a manager or two that have popped through that have really been sort of a good presence in that and helping change that reputation, at least from an internal perspective with our circle as administrators. So that attracted me. There's that forward momentum, which any manager will tell you they love, obviously. There is a vibrant downtown, which is something that I absolutely love as well, with all the different restaurants that are out there, and the retail spaces that are there. It's not I'm coming in, I'm paying my car insurance, and then I'm leaving. Let's go shopping, let's go have something to eat, let's walk around. There's plenty of stuff to do, there's plenty of stuff to see, and so that downtown core and that downtown momentum is usually one of the first places you want to start as a city manager and build out from there, in terms of economic development and neighborhood operations and building the community together. And it's a diverse community, which is something that I had in Belleville, which was fantastic. It gave a lot of different voices, a lot of different perspectives. We had all sorts of different races and a broad mix of young and old, homeowner and renter, student and career path. So we had the ability to get a lot of different voices at the table at the same time, and a lot of different concerns and a lot of different things that they thought we did well. So getting all of those voices, I feel like you get a better anecdotal sort of feedback from your community when you have that diversity. And so that was something that attracted me to this position as well. And the ability to stay for a long period of time. Every commission's hope that you find somebody, they stay for 25 years and then they retire, and the next generation of commissioners finds the next city manager. Unfortunately, in our field, our lifespan is about 4.5 years. But it's something that we talk about all the time internally about how to change that. So it's finding the right fit. And this is a community where I feel like I could be a very good fit and calming presence, like I mentioned earlier.
Can you describe a time when you had to navigate community resistance to a proposed project or policy? How do you build community support?
We had two that I can think of, really three. So we had one in Litchfield, again with the blight ordinance and switching up our code to have the teeth there to enforce that. We were met with a lot of pushback to start with, and because they had this generational thought that we are a rural community, we're a small community, we don't need someone to tell us to clean up our yards. We don't need someone to tell us to get the junk out of our yards. And then you would sit down with the community and show them photos of properties that had just piles of stuff everywhere and 6 broken down cars out back and all of these different various issues that, unless you're looking for them, you don't necessarily see on a day-to-day basis. So we would show them that and they would say, oh, okay, like I get that. I understand that point of it. I understand that side of it. I just don't want somebody hopping my fence and looking in my backyard to look for something to cite me for. So we met in the middle with the community and said, if it's visible from the street, then we will cite you for it. Or if it's creating a nuisance to a neighbor, an odor or trash piling up and it's impacting their view of whatever that may be, then we will act on it. And that seemed to be a reasonable compromise for most of the community. We weren't intruding on what they felt was more of a private space, but if it was visible, much like a police officer when they're, driving around, if they see it from the street, they can take action on it. But if it's behind a fence and they can't see it, we can't go hopping the fence looking for something. So that seemed to quell that quite a bit, and bring a reasonable conclusion to that. When I was in Belleville, we moved our public safety millage from the summer tax to the winter tax, and even though it was a zero net change in the taxes, there is that gap where one tax cycle you're going to hit them kind of back to back, and then they'll get a break, and that went over like a lead balloon. As you can imagine, even though it was no impact to them, when you look at it on paper, it doesn't look like that. And we did not do a very good job from a PR perspective of letting the public know that this was happening. This is why it's happening. We just said, this is what we're doing. And that's the way it is. And so I took a little bit of most of the accountability for that, because as the administrator, it's my responsibility to, make sure that the PR is there, the communication is there, both to, I guess, protect, for lack of a better word, the city council and the commission, and to, protect the backlash that we get as an administrative team. So, we made the change, and once we were able to kind of walk back the PR and kind of reset and say, okay, this is what's happening, this is why it happened, and going forward, this is the way it's going to be. We're actually going to lower your taxes in the summer, so to cover that makeup. So next summer, your tax bill will be significantly lower, and then everything will be back on track. But yeah, it did kind of sting a little that we grabbed it in the summer for the previous year, and then we grabbed it in the winter for the current year. And they kind of had to take us at our word that we were going to lower the taxes, because there's that limited window where you can amend your L4025, and we weren't in that window when we made the change. So, but then when we came in and the window opened to make that change to lower the millage rate in the summer, we did that. We kept our word, and everybody seemed to move on from it. So that was kind of nice, but the initial backlash was rough.
How do you define the appropriate relationship between city administrator and individual commissioners? How would you handle a commissioner attempting to direct staff outside of established channels?
So this is a lesson that I kind of had to learn the hard way, even though I had been guilty of it myself. And I thought I had a reasonable handle on it, and I did not. And so this was a very tough lesson for me. When I was mayor, I would get a little bit ahead of my skis. I would start talking to department heads about different things that I noticed. And it wasn't like, we need to change this policy or we need to do this. It was, hey, this person has this problem. Can you look into it? Rather than going to the city manager directly, and saying, hey, this is a problem that I've noticed. I had a resident come to me with this. Can we handle this? And so the city manager sat me down and said, this is your lane. This is my lane. As long as we stay in our separate lanes, we will be just fine. And kind of explained to me that process. And then eventually I got to the point where I'd kind of said, well, I like your lane better. Mentor me on how to change lanes here. Once I changed lanes, I thought, okay, I know how to handle this, right? I know how to have this conversation because my city manager had it with me. And when I was in Belleville, I did not have a good handle on. The mayor would, not to throw him under the bus, but we would have conversations, and they transitioned more from conversations, okay, I'll get it on the agenda, to sort of an edict that had to happen. And it was, then they would go to department heads and say, did this get done yet? No. Well, why not? I don't know. And so he's like, well, then get it done. And then the department had obviously kind of felt a little compelled to go that route. So I did not advocate properly for my staff. And again, that was a hard lesson that I had to learn. And so when I took a step back and looked at my management style, while I tend to be a little bit hands off in terms of micromanagement, I needed to be a little bit more hands on and assertive with reminding, whomever is in that role that's kind of getting a little bit out of their lane to remind them what their responsibilities are, remind them what their role is, and train the staff as well as myself to not necessarily say, no, you're not in your lane, get in your lane, but we will look into it. We'll put it on the agenda. And if that's what council wants to do, then we'll do it. And so that I've had to train myself and train my staff that's the line. That's when you're given direction from someone that isn't me, that's what you tell them is, okay, cool. We'll get it on the agenda and we'll look into it. We'll bring you the data. And if council agrees to it, then we'll move on. And so again, that was a tough one to learn, but you have to be firm. You have to advocate for your staff because you start to blur those lines. You start to blur the charter and things can get messy quickly.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Adrian faces aging infrastructure needs. How do you prioritize capital improvement projects when available funding falls short of identified needs? Examples would be Bone Pool, the aging water system, Kiwanis Trail System bridges, Winter Street development.
Sure. Like I said, I'm a grant hunter. So wherever I can find money, whether it's through TAP or it's through CDBG funding or whatever the case may be. I mean, we were able to secure funding in Litchfield for a park through CDBG, which is not typically the traditional route that you go, but it is a route that's available to you. So again, with addressing the pool, grant money is always the best way to do that because pools are not cheap. And that is a significant long-term planning thing. And when things break down unexpectedly, you have to shift a lot of things very quickly to reopen the pool and get that moving forward. With roads, it's a lot of long-term planning. Again, TAP, there's some federal money that's out there. There's some state money that's available every once in a while that pops up. The counties typically have a little bit, not a ton of money. And you look at road studies as well. When I was in Belleville, we knew anecdotally we had some traffic issues on our main street. People would drive way too fast. The traffic lights weren't quite synced up. Pedestrians, I had almost been hit several times at the mid-block crossing. So we got a grant to do a road study, a traffic study through SEMCOG. And they came in and said, yep, these are the things that we would recommend. This mid-block crossing here, raise it up a little bit to improve pedestrian visibility. These points here where people are driving faster than a 25 posted limit, let's move the crosswalks, the bump stops out so that it forces them to slow down and pay attention to that curb. And then we recommended to add a traffic circle and take out the stoplight at one spot, which forces traffic to slow down. And then essentially that helps your economic development at that point too, because now people are slowing down. They're like, oh, I didn't even know that was there. Let's stop there. So that helps out as well. So really it's about finding ways to find the money to get that done. And if not, and you have to shift things around, it's really about what's more important. Can this road make it another year to allow us to get the funding available to do it? Is there a way we can do it a little bit more affordably? Do we switch pavement types? Do we switch from asphalt to concrete? What are the prices looking like? Or do we keep pushing forward and we just budget it out long term a little bit farther? Typically with roads, unless it's a major road project, I'd never recommend bonding those projects unless it's, the price tag is astronomical and it's a big thing where you're going underground and replacing infrastructure. And I try to piggyback all of those projects together at the same time. It doesn't make much sense to mill and cap a road and then, oh wait, we also the infrastructure under there is from 1935. We need to fix it. Well, now we have to tear up the mill and cap, replace that. So coordinating everybody together at the same time, whether that's power companies, gas companies, whatever anybody's got underground, we do all of those projects at the same time because we ran into that in Belleville. We had done a sidewalk project, and then 6 months later, DTE came in, tore up the brand new sidewalk, and did their work. And like, why didn't you guys tell us you were coming to do this? We let you know we were doing this project. We called you, we told you, like, why didn't you say, oh yeah, we've got that on our radar for this point? Either shift that project up to work with us while we've got it tore up, or we can push ours back if you're not flexible. So it's coordinating all of those efforts at the same time and that helps reduce some of that cost too, because you can piggyback some of that cost back to the gas companies, the power companies, and things like that, and they'll cover some of that cost to help offset some of that too. So if you can get them to jump in on that project at the same time, which is nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
5 minutes. Okay. 1 year from now, how should the commission evaluate whether you have been successful as city administrator? What specific outcomes would you expect us to see?
So the first year is always tough with a new administrator, and there's been some studies about whether or not annual reviews are effective for managers because there's a lot of intangibles that you can't really measure. Now, are there measurable goals that commissions like to see? Absolutely. And those things should be, an administrator should be held accountable to that. But when you have a first year, it's a lot about culture. Is the staff responding to the new administration? Are there things that internally needed to change? Are those things being changed for the better? What is the staff feedback from the new administrator? And then you look at some of those more intangible, measurable goals that are, did we fix this street that we had advised this is the street that needs to be fixed? Did we improve the budget? Did we generate more revenue? Have we addressed vacancy in the downtown? Those are the types of things that you can look at from an evaluation standpoint a year from now. But there's so many hats that an administrator wears. It's kind of tough to say these are the things we're going to evaluate you on, because the priorities for some of those things may not be there that first year. So I think it's really, is the staff responding positively? Is the budget where the commission wants it to be? And are some of the short-term projects and the short-term goals that the commission has, are those being met? And honestly, if you can hit those at like an 80 to 90% clip, I think you're doing okay. But it's that first year is always tough to measure.
Do we have time for one more? Yeah. Okay. We've had a number of city administrators over the past few years. What makes you the best choice, and how will you become part of the Adrian community? Give us specific examples.
Sure. So I have typically ingrained myself into the community in every stop that I've been at in Eaton Rapids and in Litchfield. It's a Rotary member and would attend those the Rotary meetings for lunches and breakfasts and things like that. And it really gave us a more to it's conversation rather than walking into my office or having some sort of a formal meeting. And so I've always loved to do that. I love to walk around the downtown as an administrator, economic development director, whatever the case may be. Talk to the business owners, talk to the people that are there every day. What's going on? What do you need? What's happening in the city? And making those changes, there's always that white whale that you hope will endear you to the city. In Litchfield, I didn't get to make that, but in Belleville, when we started the project for the new city hall, they were like, okay, this is the thing that kind of ingrained me into the community. And so it's a lot of legwork, a lot of listening, a lot of working with the residents, having that open door, and really having a passion for the city, as if every street, every project impacts you or your neighbor directly, and really truly listening and being a part of the community.
Thank you.
I have a question for the mayor. Since we're only down to 4, I think it'd be appropriate for each commissioner to at least ask 2 questions, since we're going to be ahead of the time frame.
We're at time.
We're only interviewing 4 today, right? Instead of 5? So I think it'd be appropriate for each commissioner to at least ask 2 questions.
I would recommend against that because we do have a set time schedule for all the candidates.
Does he have time to give a few last words? Okay.
Thank you. So I typically will say that I am an administrator that focuses largely on faith and family and fun. I have an amazing wife. We have 4 kids. We love to travel. We love food. We love sports. You know, I volunteer as a soccer coach. So there's a lot of things that keep me very community focused. And you know, as a parent and as a homeowner, you know, a lot of I feel like I have the ability to translate a lot of those concerns to this role, along with being able to translate back to the commission some of the more technical aspects of that because I've sat in that chair before. I've worked with the media, so communications is always a big thing for me, and then being able to you know, give them the audio or the video that they need and the information that gets out to the public that's disseminated through the media, but also translating those things back to you as a commission so that when you go home at night and your neighbor is asking questions about something that's incredibly technical, you have the information available to you that you can translate that back to them. That the chairs that you all sit in, the learning curve is incredibly steep. I know firsthand. So helping with that transition and helping with that learning curve and sort of straightening that out is something that I am incredibly passionate about as well. Through my connections with the MEDC and the MML and the MME, getting as much training and as much knowledge as we can for everybody involved, the commission, myself, the team at City Hall. Those are all things that I am incredibly passionate about, giving everybody the right tools at the right time to be successful. And yeah, so I'm a huge nerd at heart, so I have on my Pac-Man socks, so a little personal info about me, um, but yeah, so I welcome the opportunity, and in every community that I've ever been in, there's challenges, and I always look forward to tackling those, and look forward to hopefully working with you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. We'll have about a 4 or 5 minute break and then we'll put our next candidate.
Great to meet you.
Thanks.
Couple things. It's nice to meet you. Welcome. Here's something.
You're welcome to. Ready to get started. Just the mic issue.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Pleased to introduce Jeremiah Davies, candidate for city adjustment.
And I'm going to let us all introduce ourselves, even though you do know some of us. So I am Mayor Angie Sword Heath.
Tiffany Zeig.
Mary Roberts.
Aaron Cheshire.
Matt Schwartz.
Chip Moore.
Good afternoon.
And we will begin now.
All right.
Adrian is focused on blight removal and redevelopment. Describe your experience with similar initiatives and how would you approach blight elimination and attracting businesses to strengthen our tax base and economy?
Great question. And first of all, thank you for allowing me to be here. I can answer that directly. As my time as the new city manager in Hudson, being a smaller community with less resources, I wear a number of different hats. So as opposed to coming in and just being a city manager, I'm also the street coordinator. And also one of the things that I do is code enforcement. And so immediately boots on the ground, understanding the processes and procedures that were in place before. And so immediately having to tap resources that I've, used before. I'm not a code enforcement officer, but I was humble enough to say, you know what, I need to understand this a little bit better, do my research, called back here to Adrian, talked to some of our code enforcement officers. And really the approach that I started to take it and move forward with residents was not about wanting to punitively charge them fees and fines. It was compliance. It was simply code enforcement being one component of a thriving community. And so what we did is immediately kind of start jumping in, finding ways to support our residents in regards to whether it's windows, siding, trash, right? Those are all things that we want people to comply with simply because we want to be a good neighbor. We want to be a good community member. And so really a unique kind of perspective for me jumping into this role in Hudson was wearing all these different hats and becoming a code enforcement officer. And so obviously, when we want to attract businesses, we want a community that people want to be in. And so, right. So when we have trash, when we have things of that nature, we have houses falling into repair. We want to address those first from a quality of life standpoint, but also again, we want to be attractive to businesses. And so that's been one of the things I've been working with Lennon Way now about. The MEDC, the DRP is how do we make Hudson more attractive, right? And so that's a continual work in progress. And so we do it every single day. We look for different grants. The county has a home improvement grant that we've been setting up our residents with. And so really it's about being advocates for our people. And so that's what I do every day from a code enforcement standpoint. We want compliance because we want to be an attractive community to bring people and businesses to the city of Hudson.
Thank you.
How do you translate the commission's priorities into clear and achievable mandates for staff? Describe your experience with strategic planning and taking a broad plan and implementing into specific tasks for staff.
Great question. First and foremost, and I'll say this kind of throughout this process in our discussion today, is communication is so vital. And it's more than just having our one-off meeting at the end of the year to do a strategic plan. This has to be an ongoing and an organic process, whether that's daily, weekly conversations. It's important for the administrator, the manager to sit and talk with the commission in a one-on-one basis, understanding their priorities, but also aligning that with our set strategic plan. And with that, then having that clear communication, having those clear KPIs and things that we look at, factors and how we track our progress, we can then as an administrator then communicate that to staff. So it's going to be continual communication, not only just with staff and the council, but also our residents. So it's a continual conversation to obviously pursue and improve quality of life wherever you live.
Describe a time when you had to make budget cuts. What was the process you used to determine the items that were reduced? How did you build capacity with your department, the public, and the community in the process?
As I said, when I immediately went to the city of Hudson, I took on a number of different roles. One of those was being finance. And so immediately sitting down with staff, talking about where they were at within their budget process. When I started in Hudson, it was right at the start of the budget process. And so immediately it was continual conversations with our staff and talking about things that were important to them, things that they had saw previously. One of the things that I was presented with was an immediate purchase for just about $175,000 ambulance. And while our emergency management systems are very important, I asked the question immediately to this department head. I said, were there any funds allocated for this, or where are these funds lying? And so not his fault. He had submitted it as part of the capital improvement plan, but there was nothing from a funding standpoint that was set up in previous years. And so what I had to do was look and see where we were from a financial stability standpoint. And ultimately, I had to make a decision to say this was not the time for that purchase. And while those types of purchases are extremely important, you have to in this position make those tough decisions. And so that was a tough decision. Obviously, it's a priority of ours, and we have it on our future capital improvement plan. But again, aligning and ensuring that we're being fiscally responsible, and our budget's is our most important document that we're going to present throughout the year. And so being able to make those tough decisions are decisions that you're going to be confronted with. And so that was a perfect example immediately that I was thrust into, that I had to say, yes, I support what we're trying to do and why we need this, but this is not the time for it.
Thank you.
Describe a time when a city project you were managing faced significant public opposition or political pressure. How do you address the concerns while keeping the project on track?
Again, I could reference back to my time with the city of Adrian, but I really want to focus on the now and the things that we're doing. One of the immediate concerns that was brought to me and that I discovered when I got to Hudson is we have a severely, severely aging infrastructure. It's a rural community and resources are very limited. And so one of the things that the state has now stepped in over the last couple of years are some of these unfunded mandates. And one of the big things is the push from Eagle to address lead service lines. Well, the city of Hudson is extremely far behind in those. And so immediately understand that we didn't have the funding for that. And so my job as the city manager is to be an advocate for the people and for the city as a whole. So immediately hearing this feedback, not only from our residents, but also from staff, I started to explore opportunities and how we could do that. One of the things when I take an approach to something, I have the humility to say, I don't know everything about it, but I know somebody who does. And so I started reaching out to the state level. I started reaching out to the federal level, started building relationships with some of the legislative staff at Senator Peters' office, Jennifer Wartz, who oversees Hudson. And through those conversations, somebody brought up GLOW. It's GLO. It's called Get the Lead Out Initiative, and it's through the EPA and the federal government. And they said there's a program in place, you should look into it. So immediately got on the website, went to the EPA, found a contact phone number, started making phone calls, sending emails, built a relationship with the people at the EPA, explained who I was and what I was doing. And about 2 months ago, we had 6 or 7 people from across the country from the EPA come to the city of Hudson, spend the day with us, look at where we were at from a project standpoint, looked at obviously our limited resources, filled out the application, went through the entire almost charade of it. It was pretty intense, but ultimately about a month ago, they just finally signed off on a work plan. So we now are bringing the EPA, the full backing of the federal government to the city of Hudson to help us with this massive project that we have. And so while we're behind the curve, we actually have a plan set in place to move forward with it.
Thank you.
I'm still going to ask this, even though it's a little different because of your background, but in your research of Adrian, what are the current concerns that you feel need to be managed the moment you start, if given the position?
Good question. And obviously, right off the bat, we could immediately go to the water, and that's a huge concern. That's an obvious, that's the elephant in the room. But I think with that is day one is also there seems to be a divide amongst our community with our staff and with the commission as a whole. There seems to be this large divide, almost a bit of discourse. So I think with immediately coming in, it's immediately starting to build trust. I think the community has to trust that the person that takes over this role is there to serve, that this person is there to be their biggest advocate. With that, then that allows communication. And obviously residents at this point have highlighted, here's a big concern. There's no question what's going on. And so immediately jumping into supporting staff, but also developing a plan in regards to our water. We have a lot of smart people here in the city of Adrian who are fully capable to do this, but it's okay for us to have humility and say, we need to reach out and look elsewhere. So immediately jumping into developing a plan for our water, but also really start relationship building. The person in that corner office, you can't hide behind the door. You can't hide behind emails. You need to be out in the community, involving yourself with our school district, with our residents, and really having a pulse. And when you do that, when you have that pulse, you're going to understand the things that are going on in the city, and you're going to have a feel for that. And again, we do have that feel. We understand what's going on. Our water is an issue, but with that, we also need to build trust. It's going to go hand in hand.
Describe your experience with creating and managing municipal budgets. How big was the budget, and was the budget growing or shrinking? Over your time with that municipality, were you able to grow the fund balance or grow the deficit?
And again, great question. Again, as I stated, I immediately, when I went to the city of Hudson, immediately jumped into the start of the budget season. One of the things that I felt comfortable about was my time here in the city of Adrian, the lessons I learned being a department head, managing a department budget, going through the process for four different years, for a number of different commissions, also administrators at that time. But, I learned a lot from our finance director here. So I took a lot of the lessons, some of the standard operating procedures that we use here in Adrian. I immediately took an evaluation of how things were done in Hudson and started to make changes. The current operating budget we have is a little over $2.5 million. With everything combined, it's $8 million. Obviously, I've been there just a little over 7 months. And so we're kind of holding steady at the moment. We've just adopted our budget. But one of the things, as I stated earlier, the budget is going to be the most important document that we present each year. The budget's going to tell a story. That's going to tell us where our priorities are at. It's not going to tell us from an oratory standpoint. It's going to provide data. It's going to show us where our true priorities are at. One of the lessons, though, that I continue to bring from the city of Adrian to Hudson is telling our departments it's okay to have a surplus at the end of the year. We don't need to spend just to spend, right? And if we have a painstakingly intense budget season where we really talk about our priorities and we set those things, I think then that allows to, with expectations, and provides a guiding document for our residents and for most importantly, our department heads. So it's a continual work in the process, and I'm happy that I got to finally just pass my first municipal budget recently. So.
Thank you.
Given our history with transitions, explain why you think you have the capacity to last as the city administrator.
Great question. I'll be honest with you. When this opportunity presented itself, and I started to think about it, obviously my phone started going off, family, friends asking the question. And obviously there has been a ton of turnover here in the city of Adrian, and that's going to be falls on each individual and on why they came or why they left. But ultimately, I feel like I have a service heart, a servant heart, and this is home for me, right? That's the obvious thing. This is the place where I grew up, where I've been a part of most of my life. Most of my adult life has been here. Um, I believe I've learned so much through my time here in the city of Adrian, but also just life in general. And I believe that it's important that you're able to build relationships with people. I know our community, I know our residents, I know the people here. And so I believe taking that, the ability to be approachable, to build relationships, and also being able to be comfortable being uncomfortable. At times in leadership, it's not going to be easy, but I think I have the ability to sit there and take positive, constructive feedback, tough feedback. And so with that, take that feedback, take some self-reflection and be better.
What research have you done on Adrian's strength, challenges, demographics, and opportunities? Why are you specifically interested in leading Adrian?
Well, that's kind of an easy one. And again, it's kind of the obvious. I am the city of Adrian. I'm a product of its school system. I'm a product of its neighborhoods. I'm a product of its leadership, both from a personal standpoint and from a professional standpoint. And again, I go back to my shared experiences and my learned experiences here in the city of Adrian. I understand our strengths, our weaknesses. The sky's the limit for the city of Adrian, right? You can go to any municipality, you're going to find something supposedly wrong, or you're going to find a hot topic. But this is a beautiful place. This is a diverse place of people, ideas, cultures. And that's one of the things that attracts me to this place if I was an outsider. But I couple that with also being that I am a product of Adrian. I am a homegrown resident. This is where I grew up and this is where I raised my family. And I'm proud to be here. And so that's why I want to be here, because this is home for me.
Can you describe a time when you had to navigate community resistance to a proposed project or policy? How did you build community support?
I think I've been fortunate so far in my time in municipal government to lead projects that have, for the most part, been overwhelmingly supported by the public. I will say, credit my time with the city of Adrian. Bone Pool has obviously been a hot topic, and one of the things that I was directly involved in. I was proud that I was able to develop a 5-year plan. We were 2 years into that plan before catastrophe struck and we ultimately had to shut it down. But obviously that was conversations prior to that with community really started to help us align with what was important to the city of Adrian. But how do you build those relationships in regards to different things? I think it's being visible. It's having conversations. One of the things that I'm kind of proud of, I carry it here and I have it and I'll show you when I got to Hudson, because communication is easy to say, but communication comes in different forms. I carry around this little clip every day with me wherever I'm at in the city of Hudson, and I carry it around. It gives me the opportunity to introduce myself. That gives me the opportunity to talk about the initiatives, to hear where people are at, and so I give them a business card. And there's been people that I've given 2, 3 business cards to, and they're like, Jeremiah, we have your business card. But what I'm trying to do is create that personal effect, allow them to know that I'm invested in them. I'm here to serve them. And so it's really just giving that opportunity to have those tough conversations when they're needed, but also receive that positive feedback and pass that along to staff.
How do you define the appropriate relationship between the city administrator and individual commissioners? How would you handle a commissioner attempting to direct staff outside of established channels?
I think in that instance, you just have a one-on-one with that commissioner. I think everybody here is all here for the same purpose. You all chose to run and to serve because you care about the city of Adrian and you want to serve as residents in every capacity that you can. So I think ultimately your heart's there. The person that is working in the administrator seat is heart's there, and you're there for a common goal. Obviously, there's different approaches, and sometimes things happen. But I think having an honest conversation, sitting down and saying, there's ways to do this, right? And so I think when you can hone in and focus on what that particular commissioner wants, then you as the administrator can then communicate to staff, right? And then that just allows for a free flowing relationship with that. I think ultimately you all up here, it's a thankless job, right? But again, your heart's in it, and I believe the administrator, staff's heart's in it. And so it's simply just communicating, coming to a conclusion, and then letting the administrator be the professional and communicate those wishes or desires of a commissioner to staff.
Thank you.
Adrian faces aging infrastructure needs. How do you prioritize capital improvement projects when available funding falls short of identified needs? Examples would be Bon Pool, aging water system, Kiwanis Trail, bridges, Winter Street development.
Great question. And I can immediately attest, obviously, I was a part of those conversations for a long time, but also in my new role now, again, being the city manager in Hudson, that was the first thing, as I stated earlier, we identified is that we had an aging infrastructure. And so really what we did is continual conversations with our staff, with our engineering firms, setting those priorities. Obviously, a smaller community, less resources. We don't just have the funds to just go ahead and jump into those. And so what we had to do was really triage the situation, set those priorities, and then start to look from a creative standpoint, what can we do to generate revenue? One of the things that I'm kind of been excited about, I'm the grant writer as well. So immediately started reaching out to the Jennifer Warts, who's our state representative for the city of Hudson, start building relationships with Senator Peters, Senator Slotkin's office at the federal level. And I'm happy to report on behalf of Hudson because of that due diligence and pushing and writing grants that both, so we have a $60,000 grant that's moved through the Appropriations Committee in the State House. And so we're looking like, fingers crossed, we have $60,000 coming to the city of Hudson for senior center upgrades. Also, we have aging fire trucks, ambulances, and so I continue to push hard, build those relationships with the legislative staff. And I just received word a couple of weeks ago that Senator Peters called down and said it looks like we're going to receive just shy of $700,000 to put towards a new fire tanker. So really exploring every option and from a grant standpoint, also working with Lenawee Now, the MEDC. There's a ton of funding available to us. But it goes back to the administrator being a big proponent and being a champion for the city and exploring those options.
Thank you.
1 year from now, how should the commission evaluate whether you have been successful as city administrator? And what specific outcomes would you expect us to see?
Great question. I think right away there's some glaring things that could be looked at. I think in regards to our water, obviously we're not going to fix this overnight, but I believe that within 1 year we can have an action plan in place, an action plan that the commission signs off on and agrees with, but also our community, right? Those are the voices that we're listening to. So I think immediately having 1 year from now, we should have a solid plan in place. Again, it's going to take research. It's going to take us exploring, working with the state, working with the federal government. But I think within 1 year, we can easily have a plan in place that people believe is going to help address that. Also, as I mentioned, when I started, there seems to be a large divide here in our community. There seems to be mistrust at all levels, from the commission on down to staff and into the public. And so that's more of a qualitative, right? You can look at this from a quantitative. Do we have a plan in place? Yes, we do in regards to our water, but also what's the culture like in the city? What do people feel? Do people feel comfortable coming into City Hall? And this is a perfect opportunity, whether it's just the fact that you're here, but Commissioner Cheshire, I took personal in a positive way when you were running for the council. I remember you talking about this. You had spoke with residents that felt uncomfortable coming to City Hall. That struck me, and I had never thought about that. And I was like, wow, that's a different perspective. And so when you're talking about how do we judge 1 year from now from a quantitative standpoint, are we monitoring the budget? Do we have a solid plan in place for the water? But also, what's feedback sound like? Do we feel like residents are starting to feel comfortable coming to City Hall? Do they feel comfortable reaching out to staff? And so I think that's how 1 year, those are easy measurables.
How do you intend to create a team environment that focuses on what is best for the city and not personal or private agendas?
Great question. I think when you get down to the most basic level, we're here to serve. This is, we're not computer programmers working from a cabin or a remote place in the Bahamas or up somewhere in the mountain somewhere. We're here to serve people, and our job is to provide services to people. And so what we have to do is I think we need to get remotivated. I talked to our staff this morning. They're super smart people. They're here. They all possess a servant attitude and a servant leadership heart. And so I think it's getting reinvigorated and talking about what we're here to do. Our mission has to be our people. It has to be the residents of the city of Adrian. Our mission has to be business owners. And our mission has to be people that frequent our area. We're a beautifully diverse community, and we need everybody to feel incorporated. We need people to feel heard, and we need people to feel seen. And so ultimately, that's how I believe we could do that, is establishing what our purpose is, and our purpose is going to be our people.
How would you focus on the economic development of not only downtown and the loss of Sienna Heights, but the entirety of Adrian?
Great question. And I go back to, again, to my approach, and it's simplistic in it, but saying, while I don't have every answer, I know somebody who does. And so there are so many resources available to us. I think it's important from a staffing level. One of the things that I've heard so far is there are a couple of glaring openings here in the city of Adrian from a staffing standpoint. So there are people that we had here that seem to be doing a great job. They've moved on, and that was their choice. But I think immediately we need to explore filling those positions. Staff wears a ton of different hats. And so what we have to do is obviously look at filling those positions with the qualified people to serve in those roles, but also exploring relationships. The MEDC is there, Lenawee Now is there. And so really we want this to be a thriving community. We ask, what does 5 years look like? We want a thriving community, both economically and socially. And so exploring from a staffing standpoint, getting those highly qualified people in there and working with the resources that are available to us both locally, but also, again, reaching out to the state partners and the federal partners.
Could you give me a specific example of downtown and Sienna Heights, please?
Yes. Looking at the downtown, we have a beautiful, thriving downtown. There's been some obviously changeover. And so, but I like what I hear so far with some of the new leadership at the DDA and some of the initiatives that they're moving forward with. I also think Sienna Heights has to be a priority. That's a glaring issue again. Both personally, my son was going there. He obviously had to transfer and move that. But I think it's important. I know there's a study recently done at Sienna Heights and what they're going to do with that property. So I think Sienna Heights has to be a large focus. We've lost students. So from an economic standpoint, that's going to affect some of our businesses locally. So what do we do with that property, or how can we support the sisters over there and the property owners on moving forward and developing that site to obviously continue to drive economic growth in Adrian?
In local government, tensions can sometimes arise between elected officials and city staff. What steps would you take to support and protect your staff members while maintaining a professional relationship with elected officials?
Good question. I think it goes back to having those tough conversations. When those scenarios arise, I think the commission has to understand that a good administrator is going to be there for their staff, and staff has to know that the person in that seat is there to help them. We ultimately are here for the same purpose, right? We want to serve the city of Adrian. We want to serve our people. Obviously, tensions rise, things happen, but it's important from a leadership standpoint to let your staff know that you're going to be their biggest proponent. You're there to serve them. And in instances where those scenarios rise, it's about getting in the room, being face to face, talking about our issues. But ultimately, this has to revolve around what our goal is. And our goal is to serve the city of Adrian, to make this a great place to live. And so we all have to be a fine, well-oiled machine. And so when those instances roll up, then we need to sit there and have a conversation.
Adrian has experienced periods of controversy and division. How would you rebuild trust between City Hall, residents, employees, elected officials when confidence in local government has been damaged?
Good question. One of the first things that we talked about in our staff panel before is what does the first 30 days look like, and how do we begin to mend some of these very things? I think building trust, right? And that's through transparency, that's through open and honest communication. And that's also through action. It's easy for us to get into rooms and talk and talk and talk, and we hold meetings and we talk about things. But unless residents, unless staff, unless the commission sees action and results, then it just becomes almost an in one ear and out the other, right? So again, building that transparency, building that trust, and that's going to be through action. That's going to be through being consistent, right? If a resident, a commissioner, a staff member comes to the administrator and says, "I have these issues," what do we do then, right? If you don't see action, then you're going to lose faith and trust in that person. So I think just being consistent and being utterly transparent every time, because again, ultimately we're here to serve people.
How do you evaluate and manage employee performance and hold people accountable?
Well, there's the traditional aspect of talking about annual reviews, and those are fine and all. One of the things that I think helps from an employee standpoint is the onboarding process. That's one of the things that I explored when I was at the city of Hudson, but also the city of Adrian. And I think that tells a lot from an organization. What is the onboarding process like? Because I believe that onboarding process gives you an opportunity to set expectations. If you don't have an onboarding process, an employee starts, they could be with you 6 months. At that point, it's a little late to then start setting expectations. So I think from an organizational structural standpoint, it's important that we have onboarding policies and procedures in place, which allows you to set those expectations. You can use the annual review, but I think having those early conversations and then continual conversations are going to produce results both for the employee and leadership, as opposed to just sitting back and saying, "Hey, welcome to the show. We'll talk in a year."
Thank you.
What do you consider to be your biggest professional accomplishment? How would you apply the skills and knowledge gained to address a specific challenge faced by the city of Adrian?
I stated this last year, and it rings even more true today, is the opportunity to stand in front of you all, right? At some point throughout my career, I believe I've shown the ability to execute a plan that's been given to me. And so just being able to also move to a different community, one of the questions that I got when I left and considered coming back here and interviewing with you is people say, "Do you really want to do that?" And I said, "Yes, I do." I said, "It's not about sour grapes, right? It's about getting better, being a professional, and wanting to serve a place that serves you." And so through this process, I've just continued to take that approach that I want to serve, that I want to be a part of this community. And so I'm sorry, would you just answer that one more question? I got going a little bit, and
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
What do you consider to be your biggest professional accomplishment,
Yes.
which you got? How would you apply the skills and knowledge gained to address a specific challenge faced by the city of Adrian?
Well, I think that's being a continual student learner, a lifelong learner. Again, when I went to the city of Hudson, I immediately was thrust into a number of different hats, right? And so those gained experiences, I believe will ring true and give me the opportunity to address those issues. But also, again, I believe, and I said this, and it's not a talking point. We have super smart people here in the city of Adrian. So I believe the ability in my time in the city of Hudson, being a city manager, being in the weeds, getting an up close picture at how different departments operate gives me that up close personal view to be able to support staff and address issues going forward.
Thank you.
What experience do you have with municipal water systems, and what approach would you use to lead the commission and the city to help address the concerns of the residents?
Again, coming from a small rural community where our staff and myself wear a number of different hats, In regards to our water supply, those are ongoing conversations that I have every day with our staff. We're also, as I mentioned earlier, we have a serious lead water line issue in the city of Hudson. And so we are actively pursuing every available option to us. I think in regards to the city of Adrian, they're super smart people that work for us. It's getting behind them and also let's tap every resource available to us. As the example I gave earlier, I was able to reach out to the federal government and say, I need your help. And so, boom, out of nowhere, we went through that process, and now they're providing us all this unlimited resources from a technical standpoint. And so that's how we do it. We get in the room. I think we start with Wednesday night, having that meeting over at the Alliance Center, right? Hearing from residents, continuing to provide information, but then also hopefully from that, developing action items to move forward. So it's getting in the room, it's having the conversation, but again, we have to execute a plan, and it's more about just talking. It's developing a course of action.
We have had a number of city administrators over the past few years. What makes you the best choice, and how will you become part of the Adrian community? Give us specific examples.
There has been, again, that goes back to, understanding why people have come and gone. Why am I the best person? I feel for a number of reasons, but I think it comes back to the simple reason. I am the city of Adrian. I am a product of it. As I stated, I'm a product of its school system. I'm a product of its colleges and universities. How do I immerse myself in the community? I do what I'm doing already, right? I live here. My son goes to college here. I spend money here. I attend events here. This is where I want to be, right? I made the choice 15 years ago to leave Dallas, Texas, to come back to the city of Adrian because I had such good memories from the city of Adrian. So that's what drove me back here. And so that's why I believe, again, I've learned. When I interviewed last summer, I didn't take it as a personal knock against me. The feedback that I got was, hey, you were a great candidate. We appreciate you interviewing, but there's an opportunity for you to go learn more. And so that's why I chose to pursue the opportunity in the city of Hudson, because I wanted to be a better manager and I wanted to bring those skills, hopefully at some point, back to the city of Adrian. Did I think it was going to be 7-8 months later? No. But again, because I have such a strong affinity for this place and a love and an appreciation for it, that's why I chose to come back. But that's, again, my daily life is involved in the city of Adrian. It's going to the farmers market. It's attending local events. And so that's why ultimately I believe I have such skin in the game that that's going to sustain me through this.
Thank you.
The city of Adrian recently eliminated 4 positions to help balance the budget for the upcoming year, including recreation. How do you see that we would restore these positions and increase services while not increasing the tax burden on residents?
Great question. Obviously, it's very important to be fiscally stable, right? And from its most simplest form, are the reoccurring expenses, do those match our reoccurring revenues? I've seen that. Obviously, I can speak to my position formally here, not being filled. But I think what's important to do is, again, set that priority. We have to start being very fiscally responsible. We have to be fiscally smart with how we pursue things and setting those priorities. I think in regards to the positions that aren't there, I think it's a good opportunity for us to take a look at those and see, are there capable people within City Hall that could fill some of those? Are some of those roles, are we able to join? And if not, that's okay. But what we have to do is explore those. One of the things that I still do, even though I don't work for the city of Adrian anymore, is I drive through, I look at parks, I still use parks. I send text messages to, our current leadership and kind of needle and poke. But I think having the experience allows me, if given the opportunity, to come in and to continue to support Matt and Jason. Those are those folks that are there in the leadership in the recreation department. But I really think it's important that we explore our efficiency, our long-term debt, being very fiscally responsible before we start adding positions back to the payroll.
Well, we would love if you wanted to give us some closing statements. Now is the time.
No, again, I just want to thank you all for the opportunity to be here. This was a no-brainer, right? I love this place. I love the city of Adrian. I am the city of Adrian. And so, I had to have tough conversations where I work now. in answering the question, why do you want to potentially go back or leave? And I had to be completely honest. And I said, it's home for me. And it's a place that I want to spend the rest of my career. And when I interviewed in the city of Hudson, I said, I'm not actively looking anywhere else. I love Lenawee County. I love where I live. And this is all to be where I want to be. And this is for me as a professional. I want to do more. I want to serve. I want to serve the places that are important, the people that are important, and that's the city of Adrian. And so, after a brief thought process and discussion with my family, that's why I pursued this. And so, this is an important role. This is an exciting time for the city of Adrian. Our residents have spoken. They want action, and I believe I can work with staff, work with you all to ultimately serve our residents. So again, thank you for the opportunity just to even come and speak with you today. So
Thank you.
thank you.
We have 10 minutes. I assume we're waiting all 10 minutes. I know I saw him. Yeah. She's just. Your heels. I did. I don't pick out of everything, no person thing. Last week or so. I heard the other news. Except in tap. And I've been thinking. I couldn't tell the last time I had to use my pen.
But you had to use it when you used a debit card.
No, if you use it as a tab. It's a tab. It's a tab. And since I got the tab, January, February, I had to put in my pen. And John was going on a golf trip and I needed my pencil because we shared. And okay, I haven't used it in 5 months. I had to call Lenco this morning.
Good.
Sign in anywhere?
No.
Oh, okay.
Building started in a moment.
I've seen her before.
Right, pleased to introduce you to Ali Awadi, a candidate for city administrator.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello, thank you so much for coming to Adrian and interviewing with us. I am Mayor Angie Sword Heath, and our city commission is all going to introduce themselves. We'll start over here to my left.
Hi, Bob Benke.
Tiffany Zeig.
Mary Roberts.
Aaron Cheshire.
Matt Schwartz.
Chip Moore.
And we will begin asking interview questions. We're just gonna go down the line and ask you questions, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Commissioner Moore, you can start.
Welcome. Adrian has focused on blight removal and redevelopment. Describe your experience with similar initiatives and how would you approach blight elimination and attracting businesses to strengthen our tax base and economy?
I can tell you my experience with blight is very little, but with economic development is quite a bit. So I would generate new business by offering some sort of incentives for new businesses to come to Adrian. Dealing with blight, I usually dealt with the Department of Public Service, and they were the person overseeing it, the department that was overseeing it. So one of the things we did is I just worked with them by having the crew ready to basically deal with the landowners. We had issues with the landowners, and they just left the houses and basically disappeared. So we gave them 1-2 warnings, and then that was it. We took it to court, and then we removed did a demolition on the house.
How do you translate the commission's priorities into clear and achievable mandates for staff? Describe your experience with strategic planning and taking a broad plan and implementing that into specific tasks for staff.
Well, obviously, the commission is the team that sets the policies. My job is to enforce it. I would meet with my staff on a regular basis, be very transparent with them. And I feel like if I have any issues that I feel aren't clear, I would go to the commission first before I'd even approach it to the staff. I don't believe in going straight to the staff and just complaining about something. So I would try to get pure clarification from the commission to ensure that I apply my training to my staff, let them know what the goal is from the commission. So that's crucial to me, is listen to the commission and work out every kinks we can first.
How do you evaluate and manage employee performance and hold people accountable?
I am, as I mentioned earlier this morning, I'm pro-employee. I like to work with my team. So to me, performance is always it should document, but it's more of a training issue. And I feel a lot of managers and supervisors have ignored that and went straight to disciplining. I don't believe in that fashion. I believe in trying to train people, work with them, try to get an understanding of what they're going through. Everybody's different. So to me, really try to train them first before disciplining. Disciplining is my last resort. I prefer not to do that. I'd like to work with people.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Describe a time when a city project you were managing faced significant public opposition or political pressure. How did you address the concerns while keeping the project on track?
Well, we had a pretty large park that was being actually it's not even opened yet officially. It was a $12.5 million amphitheater, and we had a lot of residents that were upset about the tax money. It was really funded through state and county, and most of it was. We had maybe 10% of contribution from taxpayers' money from local taxpayers' money. And the pushback was that you're spending $12 million on creating one park and you got 15 other parks that need, upgrading. So what we did is we ensured that the money that was spent on that park, that we had some extra money. So one of the things that I helped implement was to take some of that money, several $1 million, and invest it into the other parks. Because I felt that was a valid reason that the residents had, that we should have all our parks looking good. It's not a major one, but it's.
Thank you.
Mhm.
In your research of Adrian, what are the current concerns that you feel need to be managed the moment you start if given this position?
Economic development. That's really the main one, the first one. Coming from a college administrator background too, where I taught and I was dean of public safety, I would work with the college too. I want the college to thrive and grow.
Describe your experience with creating and managing municipal budgets. How big was the budget and was the budget growing or shrinking? Over your time with that municipality, were you able to grow the fund balance or grow the deficit?
You're dealing with municipalities, budgets rarely grow. They either stay the same, and if you're lucky, you might get a little increase from a local politician that can help out through Lansing or federal government. My goal is always to try to be slightly under my budget. I don't know if you've heard before that if you go too far under your budget, then they take that away from you at the end of the week or the end of the year. So I try not to go too much under, but dealing with budget's very difficult. My budget is I believe it's 5.8 or 5.9 million right now, just for my departments. I have two departments. I oversee emergency management and homeland security also for the city, training and preparation. So I'm still in public safety, so I still like to continue with that. But it's really managing, is just finding out what you need and how you can implement it. Now, that doesn't mean you just go wild and just start spending money. So you have to implement it properly. And one of the things I did with the little extra money I had was I established a CERT team. I don't know if anybody's familiar with CERT, Community Emergency Response Teams, for the city of Westland, which is a volunteer team. So that basically handled a lot of stuff, including if there was a downed wire, they're trained on that. So that would save the ambulance and the paramedic to go handle emergencies where the CERT team would watch the downed wire, just as an example. And that paid off dividends.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Given our history with transitions, explain why you think you have the capacity to last as the city administrator.
That's they kind of gave me some information this morning on how many administrators have been here in the last 5 or 6 years. I'm not an individual that likes to hop. I leave that for the bunnies. So I'm just became a certified public manager through Saginaw Valley State. I have a PhD in public administration. My goal is to be a chief administrator, and I believe Adrian is what's going to give that opportunity to me. And once I get that opportunity, doesn't look good to let it go that quick. And my goal is I'm a communicator. So whether I deal with my staff or I deal with the commission, it will be always in communication. I'm very transparent. I do not like anything's hidden behind this, because we're all here for one team, and it's Team Adrian. And whether it's the college or the business or the residents, we have to make sure everybody's being helped and succeeds.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What research have you done on Adrian's strength, challenges, demographics, and opportunities? Why are you specifically interested in leading Adrian?
Well, I can tell you the research, the demographics. I looked at the median income. I looked at political views. I personally don't have a political view, so I am really nonpartisan. We'll say I support everybody, okay? But when I looked at the median income, I didn't believe it. I think it's actually a little bit less, and I think economic growth is crucial for this community and for the residents, bringing more business in, bringing more residents to work. My position with Adrian is that the size of the city impressed me, because I don't want to go to a city that's where I was working at, because we have many directors and a big department, $120 million budget. So it's a little bit bigger than Adrian. It's 90,000 people. So I wanted something that I can handle. If I take on a position as a chief administrator, I don't want to fool myself and think I can handle the size of Westland. So this is an opportunity for me to make a lot of change for the city and just make it grow.
Can you describe a time when you had to navigate community resistance to a proposed project or policy, and how did you build community support?
And I actually suggested this with the mayor. The biggest thing we did is we called them meetings with the mayor, and it was with the directors. I was one of the directors that went with him. It's communicating. You have to communicate to the residents, and we had monthly meetings, and we scattered them throughout the city, whether it was a library or a school or a community center. So we scattered them throughout the city. And, you know, the biggest problem we had was, I mean, from where lighting to emergency sirens to, you know, other issues with the police, all of that had to be established through communication. And by the way, I actually was the first to establish the full operational system of the emergency sirens for the entire city. So they had some that are down, some were hanging, some, you know, it was horrible. Now they all work 100%. I look at these little things, to me, they're crucial because if something, God forbid, something happens where we have a storm and nobody's aware of it, I mean, it could be dangerous. It's life-threatening. So, but yeah, that was one of the issues we had. And then after I fixed them, they complained about it was too loud. But anyway, you just have to work with them and fix it.
Describe a time when you had to make budget cuts. What was the process you used to determine the items that were reduced, and how did you build capacity with your department, the public, and the community in the process?
So when we look at budgets, we have to look at what's more important. And I'm not saying eliminating the budget or the other, you know, part of the system that you need to eliminate it completely. What I would do is I'd look at the most important. And I used the example this morning was, you know, if we have roads that need to be repaired, they have potholes that are dangerous. Or do I need to upgrade a building or, you know, remodel a building? I wanted to get that done first because to me, I measure things by safety and security. That's the first thing I measure. And then I go to, you know, the residents, because that's for residents anyway. So their safety is of utmost to me of importance. So, and that's how I would measure it. I would never eliminate it because I think everything that's on the budget has some importance to it. You just have to manage what's more important at the time. We forecast our budget. So we do the first year and we forecast it 2 more years out. And that's how we divide it up.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Adrian faces aging infrastructure needs. How do you prioritize capital improvement projects when available funding falls short on identified needs? Examples would be Bone Pool, aging water system, the Kiwanis Trail system bridges, Winter Street development.
So what was the first one? The
So
pool?
what it would be, Adrian faces aging infrastructure.
Right.
So how do you prioritize those capital improvement projects when the available funding
Mhm.
falls short?
Well, I will tell you, I go by safety. Like I said, I'm a safety freak, so I love safety. So if it's infrastructure that needs to be done, whether it's the roads or property, to me, that would be prioritized. Did you say the first one was a pool?
Yes, we had to close a pool because of the expense, but also because it was, it's very old. It was an aging infrastructure.
Yes, it was. Okay. I would like, I mean, a lot of people say I'd leave the pool and work on everything else. Now, I don't want to do that fast because to me, you're dealing with residents and this is an opportunity for residents to come together at a pool and enjoy the community. So and I don't know how, we've solicited donations, we've solicited with businesses, you know, places like Meijer, Walmart. We have a Meijer that donates a lot of money to our commitment to, you know, whether it's to parks, they would sponsor all this. So I would look at reaching out to businesses to help out with this stuff, but infrastructure to me has to become priority.
Thank you.
Mhm.
What experience do you have with municipal water systems, and what approach would you use to lead the commission and the city through to help address some concerns of residents?
I have basic water system knowledge because I deal with them right now. but I have foremen and I have managers that run that system. So I'm not as in-depth, I don't have in-depth knowledge like they would. I'm not embarrassed to say because I don't want to beat around the bush and try to pretend I know about full water systems. But water systems are crucial. We had ours is old, so what we've done is we started replacing them, unfortunately, as they break, many municipalities are doing that because of the money. I would reach out to try to fix that. Honestly, I would reach out to our state reps. And we've received millions of dollars. Obviously, we're a large institution, large city, but I would reach out to our state reps to try to get that addressed immediately. And it depends on how serious it is. And I don't know if you guys have the process where you would take bonds. Do you guys do bonds? Like, yeah, you take bonds. Yeah. Depends on how serious it is. We'd have to take a bond on it.
We have had a number of city administrators over the past few years. What makes you the best choice and how will you become part of the Adrian community? Give us specific examples.
Well, I'd move here, so I'll become part of the community. I don't I don't want to claim to be the best, but I am, unfortunately. I have 35 years of management experience. I have all the education you need in it. I have certified public manager certification, which I just received through Saginaw Valley State University. And I have a lot of management experience, not necessarily just municipalities. So it's more diverse. I have from college to corporations to businesses, So I believe with that experience, I can be better, more apt to deal with a lot of situations. And since this is a college town technically, I think I can benefit the college and the city at the same time.
Thank you.
Mhm.
You previously spoke of economic development being core. How would you focus on economic development? If you could provide some specifics, including not only downtown, the loss of Siena Heights University, but the entirety of Adrian as well.
Well, I will tell you, the first thing I would do is meet with businesses. And I think it's crucial. And I would invite the commission and our leaders. We would have a serious meeting with some business owners here and try to gather some ideas from them. I like to include businesses. I don't want to make decisions on our own. I think if we include some businesses, we might get some better feedback and some ideas that we could utilize. With respect to Adrian, Siena Heights University, who I have a family member actually graduated from there. It was heartbreaking to hear that they were closing. But what I would have done personally is I would have met with the leadership there and I would have extended an olive tree to Michigan State or U of M to have them open an office here or a branch here and have one of the big universities here to take over. That's how I would have done it, but everybody has their own ideas, right?
Thank you.
In local government, tensions can sometimes arise between elected officials and city staff. What steps would you take to support and protect your staff members while maintaining a professional relationship with the elected officials?
It's a simple answer to that. It's called communication. I would communicate with my staff to understand what their needs are and what their issues are, and I would communicate with the commission. I'd like to bring you two together. I don't believe in separating people that have the same goal for the city. So it's more of communication, honestly. But I have to understand the situation first because I understand the elected officials have a responsibility. They provide the guidance for us to move forward with. So I think it's somewhere where we can meet halfway and understand it. I don't have experience of what's happened here before, so please don't hold me to anything.
Adrian has experienced periods of controversy and division. How would you rebuild trust between City Hall residents, employees, and elected officials when confidence in local government has been damaged?
And I'm not aware of what issues in the past happened, but to me, not just communication, but transparency. I think if we have a transparent government, which I'm 100% behind, we can eliminate a lot of the lack of support in local government. So transparency would be my answer. That would be the most.
How do you define the appropriate relationship between the city administrator and individual commissioners? how would you handle a commissioner attempting to direct staff outside of established channels?
This is not only Adrian, actually. You guys call them commissioners here, we call them city council members. I have a very good relationship with the city council in Westland. Uh, Again, and I don't want to sound redundant, but I emphasize communicating. And I think, when a commissioner goes and asks one of my staff members, hey, I need this done, I would talk to the commissioner, hey, we're all on the same team. Let me know what you need done and I'll make sure we can meet together and get it done. It's simple as that, really. But I'm not going to go crazy and say, hey, you're on my territory. This is mine. I don't do that. I like to communicate professionally, really.
Thank you.
Mhm.
What do you consider to be your biggest professional accomplishment? How would you apply the skills and knowledge gained to address a specific challenge faced by the city of Adrian?
Well, my biggest accomplishment was my doctorate, to be honest with you. But that only gave me a little bit of knowledge, and I see everything upside down now instead of straight. So right side up. Seriously, I question everything when you go through certain stages of that program. So my biggest knowledge is my 35 years of management, and it's a diverse management group. So whether it be college, organizational, municipal, and I think having that management experience, I'll have the ability to work with everybody and just have a transparent government and work with the residents, work with business owners, work with our institutions here that are very valuable. They would be to me. And I'm not just talking Adrian College, I'm talking anchor stores like Lowe's, like Myers with the businesses and the Walmarts.
Thank you.
Mhm.
1 year from now, how should the commission evaluate whether you have been successful as city administrator? What specific outcomes would you expect us to see?
Happy workforce. I believe in commission should say like, look, we've never had a person that's communicated with us so effectively, and I think we're going to have to break down barriers, honestly, together. So that's how I want him to see that this guy's done amazing work in trying to bring the community together, the commission together, the employees, and bring business to this community.
How do you intend to create a team environment that focuses on what is best for the city and not personal or private agendas?
Well, I have a problem with personal private agendas. I mean, I could tell you guys a whole story about it just recently at the city, but I would strictly focus on the city because to me that represents me as an administrator. You're crossing the line with ethics and morals, and I'm actually investigating something right now, so I can't talk too much about it. But yeah, you're crossing the line, so you have to make sure you're representing the people. And I know the commission represents the people because they're elected, so I have to make sure that we're on the same page.
Thank you.
The city of Adrian recently eliminated 4 positions to help balance the budget for the upcoming year, including the director of recreation. What experience do you have in managing budgets, and how do you see that we would restore and increase services while not increasing the tax burden on residents?
That's every municipality has the burden of trying to cut and trying to maintain a stable budget. I would have to look at the entire budget, honestly, and look at the departments. You said parks or recreation is one of them. But I also believe that once we double duty some directors, we have to be cognitive of what they deserve in double duty and, adding some extra work to them. So I believe in maybe even leaving it at that level, but making sure they're compensated enough for that double duty. If they're saving us more money in the long run, they should have something to compensate. Mhm.
So we made it through our list of questions.
I'm
There you go. So
Actually, I'm just warm anyway.
So now is the time if you would like to give us any closing statements.
Um, I mean, I did have a few questions. I was more concerned, your experience with the previous administrators, what do you think, what do you expect from the new administrator? I see Chip's laughing, so I got a Chip here. What do you expect from the new administrator?
Are you familiar with general accepted accounting principles in the finance department?
Somewhat, yes, I know of them.
Okay, then you're ahead of the last city manager we had.
So I guess I don't want to ask for examples. I'm curious.
Well, he used $500,000 for selling a building to balance our budget when that's not accepted accounting principles.
I would make sure that would go through the commission first.
A question, or not a question, a statement. It's really a statement is there's not a lot of trust and coherency in our government.
Mhm.
With the vacant positions, people have left, they've chose to go on to other people, some were budget cuts.
Mhm.
Reality is there's a huge division between commissioners, a division between citizens' trust, and a division between communication and equality throughout our entire city. How would you really focus on specific things that could actually bring unity to our commission, our city, and our citizens?
That's more of a question. I thought you were done with the questions. No, no, I'm just joking. It's okay. I'm just kidding. I opened the door. I agree. Honestly, it breaks my heart to see division. I don't like division, especially in this great nation of ours, which we have a lot of it right now. So I will always strive to have open communication with everyone, including our residents, including our staff, including our commission. I don't see a reason not to have open communication and understanding. We have to pull together. We cannot continue, not just Adrian, but any city. We can't continue being separated because that's hurting the residents and it's hurting the businesses. We need to have a plan on how to move Adrian forward.
I
But
guess one thing I would, you asked what we'd be looking for, what in a city administrator, healing. There's a lot of healing that needs to take place.
I've noticed that
Yeah,
actually.
there's a lot of healing. That transparency, but the commitment to want to see growth and to see change, even though change can sometimes hurt. And we know that, but that's, sometimes changes doesn't feel like it hurts, but sometimes it does. But, that forthright thinking, that, looking to that future, but also that commitment, but also just that restorative nature as well in general.
Yeah, it's time to put our differences aside. That's the way I look at it. And just let's see how we can work together, seriously. And nothing should be done, like you said, with that general accounting principles issue. Everything to me, and by the way, I had a reference that was a councilwoman. She was never called by the agency. I wish she would. And I do not mind providing her information to you to call her because she's an elected member. And she's a senior member of the council. So if after maybe later today, I'll give you her number, feel free to call her. I didn't pay her anything, so you'll get an honest answer from her on how I communicate with council. And I'm sorry for calling you council, but you know what I mean. It's the same thing. It's an elected position. So I just believe in open communication. I believe before I put something on the stage here with everybody listening, we've communicated already and came to a consensus on it. Because us arguing, and that's happened, us arguing over something in front of residents is breaking us apart. We can't continue that way.
I wanted to just put my opinion in as well. I think something that I'm looking for in our next administrator is really a team player when it comes to city staff. We have really, really solid people that work for us, and our department heads are beautiful. So I'm really hoping to have somebody who understands that they can lean on them when necessary, and trust them that they know what they're doing.
And I've gave you guys an example. If we're putting extra duties on people, we want to make sure they get compensated for it. Because in the long run, they're saving residents and they're saving us on the budget. So we want to make sure they're taken care of. And I witnessed that, by the way, this morning. Very good team.
Do you have any other questions or
No,
statements or anything?
no, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Just to let everybody know, we are taking a break and we will begin with the next interview at 4:50. 4:50. Okay, thank you.
All right, Shannon, feel free to approach. Yeah, of course, I'm very excited to introduce to you Shannon Spatola, candidate for city administrator.
Hi, welcome to Adrian.
Hi.
I am Mayor Angie Sword Heath, and we're just going to all go through and identify ourselves before we start asking questions.
Okay.
Shannon and Bob Banky.
Tiffany Zeig.
Mary Roberts.
Hi, Mayor.
Aaron Cheshire.
Matt Schwartz.
Chip Moore.
And we will start the questions with Commissioner Moore.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mayor. Adrian has focused on blight removal and redevelopment. Describe your experience with similar initiatives and how you would approach blight elimination and attracting businesses to strengthen our tax base and economy.
Okay, let me make sure this microphone's at the right level. I don't have a loud voice. So in my current role, I serve on the Gladwin County Land Bank Authority. We have taken blighted properties and purchased them or acquired them per se, depending on the situation, and demolished and sold for redevelopment. We've tied 2-year redevelopment agreements to the sales of any property. This is a new thing that we've started because it's not about expanding your backyard at this point. You can't make more land. You have to show that you have an investment in this community. So on the land bank, I've assisted in that capacity, and currently in the city, we are revamping our zoning and our ordinances because blight, it was different 20, 30, 40 years ago. Those ordinances are outdated. Blight is new blight. Regardless of how you look at it, some people look at things as these are my treasures. Some people don't see them as treasures. So we are readdressing our ordinances to realign with today's blight. And we've been working with businesses to secure, we secured an agreement with DG Market. And mind you, this is a very rural community. Walmart can't fit. We don't have enough space for it. We don't have the capacity for it, right? So DG Market come into town with their smaller scale grocery store. We got a lot of pushback from the community, but if it meets zoning, you can't disallow it. That's against the law. And now that we have another new anchor in town that's bringing, Big B is looking to come into the town. Like I said, it's a small rural community over 1 square mile. You can only fit what you can fit. So we have been doing land division. I'm also a property tax assessor, but not in our city, just alongside of another municipality. And so I know the Land Division Act. I know how far we can go and what properties can be subdivided and how many times they can be cut. We're working on a couple of properties that the city owns. We're not realtors. We should not own properties. So like I said, we're tying redevelopment agreements to all of these properties. If you do not redevelop that land within 2 years, we buy it back for what you paid for it. So far, Friday, I closed on 2 properties, paid $10,000 for it was 1 property one time, paid $10,000 for it. Had the assessor split it into 2, sold it on Friday to a developer for 2 new homes on 1 street. And 2 years, she has to have them developed. She's already breaking ground today, and we signed on Friday. So economic development is very important in every community because, like I said, we can't make more land. Got a couple of ideas for Siena Heights University, but we'll come to that later. Yep.
How do you translate the commission's priorities into clear and achievable mandates for staff? Describe your experience with strategic planning and taking a broad plan and implementing that into specific tasks for staff.
Okay, so every city has its master plan. There's a Parks and Rec plan. I believe this City Adrian's currently going through a revamp for their Parks and Rec plan. The master plan dictates what the city's goals and achievements are. You meet with the commissioners. If the commissioner has a specific wants, needs, or goals, identify that in the master plan. Where does that fall within the master plan? Is it a benefit? Is it a benefit for all? I'm a Rotarian, so I'm looking at different ways that we serve our people. It's service above self, right? So I need to know who's benefiting, how many people are benefiting. Is this the benefit of all, or is it just one person's personal mission? I need to know the logistics and the background of it. So I would meet with that commissioner to find out what the end goal is.
Describe a time when you had to make budget cuts. What was the process you used to determine the items that were reduced? And how did you build capacity with your department, the public, and the community in the process?
So I am the finance director because it's a small city. So I find different ways to not only make minor cuts, like it's a cause and effect cut. If I cut something over here, what's going to be affected over here? So I have to figure out cause and effect, right? I also find different ways to increase our revenues. I submitted for proposals to, well, we only have one local bank in the little city of Beaverton, but they're not local anymore. It's Huntington. And other banks outside of the city of Beaverton. I said, what can you do for the city of Beaverton? I came in here and they're paying $500 a month to have a bank account. No interest. So these proposals come back and they're very aggressive. And I'm like, well, can you do better than that? So as of today, they are generating anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 a month interest. They were paying $500 a month for interest or for just to have a bank account open. So I'm like, that's unacceptable. I know they don't have a lot of money. It's only $1 million just sitting there in the bank. It's up to 2 million today. Tomorrow it's 1 million because I'm cycling about 30 million in grants right now. So I have a lot of money that gets tied up and spent and back and forth in and out of the accounts. But in the meantime, last year alone, it was close to $30,000 in interest revenues. So I look at what's for the benefit of the residents, the taxpayers, the people who are the reason we're here today.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Describe a time when a city project you were working on faced significant public opposition or political pressure. How did you address the concerns while keeping the project on track?
That happens, believe it or not. Everybody knows what's best. So we currently have a lake dredging project. It's been in the works for a couple of years now. It's about a $3.2 million project, grant funded, mind you. It's got some RCPP funding, which is dollar for dollar reimbursement. And then there's MEDC funding, CDBG, disaster relief recovery. We're the last dam standing on the chain of lakes in Gladwin County. Our hydro dam did not fail. Thank God. So everybody wanted to throw chemicals in the water. I need to treat these weeds. I need these weeds out of the water. And we're like, just hold tight. We're working on a dredging project. Well, I want to swim in my lake today. We're old. We're not going to live tomorrow. I don't want to hear that. Unfortunately, I'm like, I said, we need to be concerned about the health of the lake. You treating the weeds in front of your dock is going to change my feasibility study. When they're doing testing of the waterways, and they determine what's in the water and what needs to be treated to eliminate that, your chemicals are going to interfere with my test results. So I had to stop that. I had a town hall meeting. I said, listen, I understand that you want to swim in your lake waters. I get it. We all enjoy the waters. And so you can't throw chemicals in there because it's going to give them some bad data. And in order to get the proper data, we need the lake the way it stands. And the only reason we got these funds was because the disaster recovery, because of all the other dams that failed, all the sludge came down into our lake. So we held town hall meetings. I host current projects platform. I'm also the web administrator. So I host current projects platform on our website. I keep them up to date. They can actually go out there and ask questions. I also do, let me see what else. Sorry, I have to write things down, my memory. I do keep them updated on social media. I send out surveys and whatnot. My social media, and some people see differently. My social media does not allow for commenting because it's for information, not conversation. I try to push it out, and everybody handles their social media differently. It brings down the morale. Like I want my information shared. And if you're just putting a comment on my social media, you're not sharing my information. I need my information shared. You can share it with your comments and your concerns. You can reach out to my city hall. I have QR codes on my business card and I pass those out. I'm like, hey, if you need to just, send me a message, you just right here. I keep myself open and available. It calmed down the community. The morale has gone up now that everybody's not seeing all that negativity coming back on my posts, because we're doing everything and we have a small we are capacity limited. Okay. We have me, the clerk, the treasurer, and I have a paid college intern because I solicited funding from Treasury and she's doing a phenomenal job. I've taught her how to man the website in several different ways. And we've gotten a lot more rapport and community outreach. And because we are transparent, my door's always open. People get a little frustrated because I'll be in a Zoom and all of a sudden my door will start sliding closed. But we do a lot of community. I'm out in the community because I'm currently a renter in Beaverton because there's no homes to buy. So and I'm also looking for my next home. But yeah, we keep our communication lines open. I serve on many boards and capacities within the county and the region because I'm also the treasurer for Eastern Michigan Council of Governance. And they're assisting us in so many different ways. But yeah, communication. Sorry. Long story short.
Thank you.
Yep.
In your research of Adrian, what are the current concerns that you feel need to be managed the moment you start, if given this position?
Okay. This is where I'm coming back to the Siena Heights University, and I hope you guys have some type of good working relationship with the sisters. I think you do. Maybe you, I don't know. So first of all, at Siena Heights University, I see they're soliciting proposals of the next big thing. The reason I would like to get with them and understand what their needs are, because your master plan comes under review next year. And if you're going to rezone for future land use, it's in that master plan. You're not going to, it's a whole ordeal if you do it after the master plan. So you're positioned just right for this. My thoughts and ideas are to make that a PUD for a planned unit development. You could potentially put, so there's two different ways to swing some money on this for them, for the institution, not for the city, but it could also benefit the city at the same time. If they were to entertain a senior housing community and childcare facility, you could swing in MEDC funding, brownfield TIF development, and MISHDA, because that's you get funding from all different sources. That right there would position the next developer for that property perfectly. And from what I've understood and what I've researched, as much as I can research, right? This is what I do. The infrastructure is in healthy working order. And that is a big benefit for that institution right now. It's unfortunate that it happened, but timing is everything right now. And I worked in higher education for 14 years. I look at the numbers. When I worked at Oakland University during my tenure there, 20,000 students. Today, 16,000. Another school is not coming here, unfortunately. It's scary. It's scary times for the schools. I was approached by another school to come work for them recently. It's scary. So in that capacity, I think that would be something that they should probably look at entertaining or considering because it would save the developer a ton of money. And it would, if you can open up senior housing, you're going to open up some houses and then I can buy one. Or I could find one. I have my eyes on a few right now, unless they get sold tomorrow. I have my pre-approval. I'm ready to move.
Describe your experience with creating and managing municipal budgets. How big was the budget and was the budget growing or shrinking? Over your time with that municipality, were you able to grow the fund balance or grow the deficit?
Wow, that's a tricky question because when I started my position, they were $768,000 in the deficit, which was the rubbish fund of all funds. My predecessors, I'll say, they've been through some city managers as well. Spent extra, oh, it's AI going on up there. Sorry. They spent some extra money from buckets of funds that they should not have been. So when we receive these grant funds, most of these grant funds come attached with administration dollars. And each time I've gotten additional administration dollars for my time, my clerk's time, my treasurer's time, my DPW's time. I also divvied up some funds for a DDA director. A town that size doesn't have a DDA director, but we do. So anyways, what I had to do is as I'm receiving these administration dollars, they go strictly towards that deficit. I don't care if we break even at $5,000 at the end of the year. We're paying down that deficit. I've been there close to 3 years. This will be my third budget that was just adopted on Monday last week. $268,000 deficit from 768. So I think we're doing pretty good at addressing numbers. I know it's not just about numbers and budget numbers, but I run revenue expenditure reports on a monthly. I'm the one in charge of that budget. That's my accountability, right? My clerk is the one paying the bills. My treasurer is the one bringing in the revenues. Where's my hydro fund money? I know we had a lot of rain last month. Where's my money? I gotta hold my contacts over at Consumers Energy, like, when are we getting paid? So.
Thank you.
Given our history with transitions, explain why you think you have the capacity to last as the city administrator.
I'm looking to grow and live and thrive in a larger community. I love the walkability. I know it's a bad thing for a lot of people. They're not happy about the tunnel, the pathway. I'm excited about it. I tell you what, it's bringing me here. I'm single. I don't have any children, so I'm not uprooting anybody, but I'm also not feeding your school. Sorry. But I have a son and his wife who are active duty military in Lansing with a child. I have a grandson who's 7. He'll be 7 in a few weeks. So I feel like I have the capacity because I don't have any outside. I'm unbiased, by the way, because I don't know you. But I have the capacity because I live alone. I work, breathe. I'm married to my work, which is why I'm not married anymore. But I spent a lot of my time. They say work-life balance. I was at a Rotary presidential-elect not too long ago, and I heard something there, and it made a lot of sense. Or I'm like, work-life balance. There's just no balance. They're like, no, it's not. It's work-life harmony. I'm like, oh, I'm a music critic. I should know that. So I feel like I have the capacity. I've planted sod at our Rotary Splash Park in Beaverton. I water flowers. I planted flowers. I've been up in bucket trucks changing out light bulbs. It's really community oriented, and I see there's a lot of passion in this community, and I love passion. Tell me what makes you tick. Tell me what you're not seeing that should be done, and why should it be done? I'm a listener to understand. So.
Thank you.
What research have you done on Adrian's strength, challenges, demographics? And my question just disappeared on me. And opportunities. Why are you specifically interested in leading Adrian?
I'm going to be honest because that's all I can be because I can't remember anything that's not. I had somebody reach out to me on my LinkedIn account asking if it would be something I'd be interested in. And I'm like, I don't know. So I started doing some research and I'm like, there's a lot of potential here. There's a lot of potential here. I am not looking to fill a seat and put a Band-Aid on anything. I'm looking to fill a seat and stay here for the long run. I'm 49 years old. I got plenty of working years behind or ahead of me, right? So I feel like I could really assist in a few projects. One of them being, I know I've worked at cities I worked in and cities I haven't worked in. I see the water. It's always water. Everything's water. Nobody wants to address the root cause or whatever it may be. I worked in the city of Flint during the water crisis. I don't have Legionnaire's disease, thankfully. But I don't know. I feel like it's a place that I could build and grow into, and that's what I've been looking to do. And it's a good sized city. I grew up in the city of Pontiac. It's a larger city than here. Rough city. I mean, you don't get to pick where you grow up, right? But you can pick where you continue the rest of your career. And I pick here.
Can you describe a time when you had to navigate community resistance to a proposed project or policy? How did you build community support?
Oh boy, let's see. Policy. Um, can you use that in a sentence? So my platform is usually communication. It's usually web-based. I've had to send out mailings. I hate spending money on the cost of mail. I'm a penny pincher. But my goal is I'm seen, I'm visible, I'm out in the community. Anytime there's an issue, I address it, but I want to know why there's an issue. I want to know the underlying cause of that issue. So we've had to develop a lot of policies and procedures in the city of Beaverton. Well, I have, and the council adopts them based on what I've recommended because they know I've done the research. They know I've done the homework. Like a purchasing policy or a fund balance policy for overspending. It's not going to keep somebody honest, but it'll hold them accountable. And that's the important part. So we've ethics policy. Oh, don't get me started on ethics. So I've had to address several different policies within, but I've also had to address, I'm also the zoning administrator, credentialed through MSU Extension and master citizen planner as well. And so there's policy outside of the office when it comes down to why can't I have, I'll just say it from, why can't I have chickens in my backyard? Because there's a backyard chickens. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, there was a lot of pushback from the community because everybody wanted them. Like I said, ordinances, some of them are old, some of them need to be revised. Ours won the case in court. It put that to rest. We don't like to go to court But when 90% of the population are coming to me against it, well, then the ordinance stands. It's basically a power of the people, right?
How do you define the appropriate relationship between the city administrator and individual commissioners? How would you handle a commissioner attempting to direct staff outside of established channels?
Well, the city charter typically addresses who the chain of command, who's in charge, and overall who addresses staff and who doesn't address staff. I guess I would have to go back to what does the policy say? What does the procedure say? What does the city charter say? And understand why that person is addressing them in that manner. That happens in every city. I've seen it. Sometimes it's unknowingly, like they just happen to see somebody and said, hey, can why isn't this done? Sometimes it's unknowingly, right? Because they just happen to see them in public. It's a rather community-centered community, right? So I think I would just, my staff in general would just have to say, well, take that up with the city administrator because that's above their, some people say above my pay grade, but I just have to address it with them and say, maybe they unknowingly did it. It was unintentional, right? I like to hear what other people have to say. I don't want to assume automatically. I listen to understand, not respond.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Adrian faces aging infrastructure needs. How do you prioritize capital improvement projects when available funding falls short of identified needs? Examples might be Bone Pool, our aging water system, our Kiwanis Trail bridges, our Winter Street development.
First of all, we need to find out what has been postponing the maintenance of a pool, or like why was the maintenance being put off and put aside? Was there a specific budget set for it originally? But like I said, I'm administering about 30 million in grants right now. So my first go-to is you have your Sparks grant, which is recreation and outdoor activity. Could fall under that. I mean, there's several different types of grants. Michigan's DNR grants. If you haven't had one in 5 years, maybe you have, I don't know. What does your Parks and Rec plan say? Does your Parks and Rec plan address that the pool? Does it identify it as a I did see on social media, I'll admit, I saw it on social media about the pool. Social media is just crazy. But what does the Parks and Rec plan say? Does it say that that's a staple in your community? Why wasn't it maintained? And I mean, we would just have to find ways to, if that is something that your residents are completely passionate about, there's crowdfunding. We did it for our Rotary Splash Park. Got about $200,000 in crowdfunding for our splash park. We didn't have money for a splash park, but the Rotarians, they wanted to make it happen, and they made it happen in our city. But I mean, there's different ways to secure funding, and like I said, you have a lot of passionate residents. They want to see these things. I want to see a pool. I love pools. Probably don't want to see me in the pool, but I like pools. Yep, your microphone went out.
Thank you.
What experience do you have with municipal water systems, and what approach would you use to lead the commission and city through and helping to address some concerns?
All right, this is where I shine. I'm currently administering a $10.3 million, 100% funded Eagle grant opportunity that I signed the grant agreement on as soon as I took my position. Working with engineers, and my water tower, I have pictures of it. I'm so proud. The water tower is half done. It's already been constructed out west, and then they ship it all here and they reassemble it. So I get a brand new water tower. I've increased capacity because because I am helping them increase residents and businesses. So we increase capacity from 200,000 gallons to 300,000. That's substantial for a 1 square mile community. We're getting new water lines, water mains, water meters, and the tower, all of it, completely from the ground up. Everybody's been wanting the streets redone for the past 3 years. I'm telling, just wait, because we are not ripping up that street after I put money into it. And so here we are today. I did a joint venture with the water project. So a street that was going to cost me about 120,000 is now only going to cost me 60,000. So now I can focus on some other streets, right? I'm going to redirect that funding. The best things come to those who wait. We don't make knee-jerk reactions under my under my administration. That's what got that city in a lot of trouble in the previous years, knee-jerk reactions. So not only do I have that going for me, but I also met with the legislature in Lansing about 2 months ago. I went down to testify for a $450,000 legislative earmark. It's so far past the House, it's off to the Senate, and if any luck, it hits the governor's desk. I'll say bipartisan. It's not about the party, it's about the purpose, it's about the people. I, I, I hate that whole party playing thing. It's like saying all white people are the same. No, we're not. So I've been addressing the water situation, and I've also was a part of my first tenure in Beaverton. Um, we had a Saint Gobain did a expansion, kind of like Adrian Steele's doing right now, that just announced 2 months ago. There's an opportunity for water infrastructure here because of that expansion. I don't know. I hope somebody, if I'm not the chosen one today, I hope somebody reaches out to me and I will give them my card. The EDA. So you go to eda.gov for Economic Development Authority. Saint Gobain announced a big expansion, increase of jobs. So the EDA says, we'll help you with your capacity. Well, a steel factory has fire suppression. That's a big strain on your water system, right? So the fire suppression, so it brings down it increases your capacity, or strains your pressure. So now EDA will help fund water infrastructure. So with that being said, in 2020, they supported that movement to construct a water treatment facility. They've never had a water treatment facility. They had brown water. Today, I finalized that grant in 2023 upon my arrival as well. The water treatment facility was constructed. The industrial park was expanded. We utilized those funds. They got state funding, kind of like Adrian's getting some state support. That's going to be some match dollars. So you could just go to the EDA, work with your economic development here. You got Lenawee now, right? You got your economic development over here, and you're the county seat. You got to use your resources, right? So anyways, it was a $5 million investment from the EDA. And so today, as of 2 years in the works now, I can pull the back of a toilet tank off and it's clear. It's amazing. It's not brown. The back of the tank should always be clear.
How do you intend to create a team environment that focuses on what is best for the city and not personal or private agendas?
Well, that's in every city, but I'm a positive thinker. I like to think that nobody has bad intentions. I want to know who their ideas are impacting and why it's important to them. It's again, I default right back to being a Rotarian. Is it for the greater good? Does it benefit all that are involved? And I need to know the facts, the data. Numbers don't lie.
The city of Adrian recently eliminated 4 positions to help balance the budget for the upcoming year. This also included the director of recreation.
Ooh.
How do you see that we restore and increase services while not increasing the tax burden on residents?
Well, I would like to sit down with your finance director. He seems like a nice gentleman. I would like to sit down with him and see where things got a little sidetracked, where we could potentially make hard decisions. Like I said, I'm a numbers person. I try to put the people first, but in the same sense, I want to keep the residents are the people as well as the person sitting in that seat. So we need to know why and how it happened before you can fix a problem, right? I I don't know how it happened or why it happened until I look at that budget book, right? I tend to pull revenue expenditure reports about monthly because I want to make sure I'm on task, right? I don't want a sloppy budget. I'm not a sloppy budgeter. Um, but yeah, I would definitely have to address what caused it before I could make a decision on how I could fix it.
Thank
In local government, tensions can sometimes arise between elected officials and city staff. What steps would you take to support and protect your staff members while maintaining a professional relationship with the elected official?
Well, I consider myself a bulletproof vest. I grew up in the city of Pontiac, so I've been through some tough stuff. We were the second school in the state of Michigan to obtain metal detectors, if that tells you anything, back in the 90s. So I tend to shield my staff from outside negativity or confrontation. First, please address me because that's the first go-to, right? That's what your charter, I'm assuming, says. I haven't dug too deep, but my charter says that. My charter says you're the commissioners. My charter says my councils come to me. If they have an issue, I created a personnel committee to maybe address certain issues because maybe there's just something simple out there that we're not seeing. Maybe you're not seeing something because you're not internal, but that's not where you're supposed to be because you're supposed to be out there for the people. You're supposed to be out there like taking people's concerns and questions as you randomly see people, as am I, and trying to figure out why things are not the way that everybody sees it or the way they want to see it. Um, so yeah, I'm pretty much shield my staff from the negativity. I feel like that's my responsibility.
Thank you.
Adrian has experienced periods of controversy and division. How would you rebuild trust between City Hall, residents, employees, and elected officials when confidence in local government has been damaged?
Okay, I'll use my current city for example. There was a lot of distrust in the city that I work in right now. I serve on a lot of boards. I'm the MCOG for Eastern Michigan Council of Governments, Economic Development for Gladwin County, Land Bank Authority, Chamber of Commerce, Beaverton Area Business Association. So I put myself out there. I converse with everybody. I'm an extrovert. I talk to all the strangers, strangest of strangers. But I build relationships. Like I said, I can't tell you a lie because I'd have to remember it, and it doesn't work that well for me. So I build trust and relationships with my community. We get things done. Like I said, I'll be out in the community with the DPW because they're short-staffed, or I address the concerns when the phone call comes in, when the email comes in. I don't just say yes or no. I give an example of or an explanation because just to tell me no, I'm like, why? You remember being the child? I was like, why? Why? Well, I think of it that way. I want to know why. You don't just tell me no. Give me a reason. Give me data. I need informed decision making. I have to have my data. So I build relationships.
How do you evaluate and manage employee performance and hold people accountable?
So I've had to do that in my current capacity. policies and procedures. So I cannot discipline somebody if I don't know the procedure, if I don't know the policy. What's the policy? What's the procedure? Oh, you don't have one. So we've been creating policies and procedures to hold people accountable. So it's been a challenge because some people think by creating procedures, they're being replaced. That's not the case. I have a small staff, and when you're not there, I have to do your job, which I'm certified treasurer, clerk, all that good stuff, right? Assessor, all of it. Do I want to do it? No, absolutely not. I've been there. I want you to do it. I want you to do it effectively and efficiently. And if you don't have the confidence to do your job, then maybe we need some training, or maybe there's a learning curve. Maybe I need to pair you up with somebody who in their capacity could give you that confidence, right? Sometimes there's a shortfall of strengths and weaknesses. And sometimes certain people work best with other people to build up that confidence and produce efficient, solid work. Because in smaller municipalities where I am at, $1,000 is like $1 million in a larger one. It's a big mistake.
Thank you.
Mhm. You and your 5 minutes.
What do you consider to be your biggest professional accomplishment? How would you apply the skills and knowledge gained to address a specific challenge faced by the city of Adrian?
Well, let's see. My biggest accomplishment. Should have sent me these. Well, like I said, I came into the city with such a deficit. Well, there was 2 deficits. I cleared the other one, no problem. It was only 200,000. And that's a lot for a city, but either way. So I came into the city. I had to address with them the cost of management. My predecessors were not the finance directors. They were outsourcing, and I'm not speaking ill of anybody. This is all true statements. They were outsourcing accountants. So that was another $20,000 on top of their salary that the city was paying. So I've showed them the cost of management and what they've spent and what they need to look for in the next city manager. Someone who's versed in fund accounting, governmental GASB fund accounting. It's very important. And like I said, the increase in the interest rates of the bank accounts, that was a big win for me, because now I'm saving you $20,000 on a CPA, and then I'm over here, I'm saving you another 25,000 depending on, the month. My cost, I've saved you nearly $50,000, right? Because it's a small municipality. I have to be there all the time. If I have 2 people out of medical leave, guess who's at the front desk? But the residents know me, they trust me. I'm out in the community all the time. I show up at events, tree lighting ceremonies, farmers market. On Fridays, I show up at the farmers market and got a new structure built for them. Not everybody's happy about it because it's different. So anyways, farmers market, they love their new structure. They're thriving. I try to increase morale and promote community, community engagement. I don't expect everybody to work outside of their work hours. I do it. We own a campground. I go down to the campground. I see if they need any help. I'll jump on a lawnmower. I don't care. So my accomplishments is helping the city recover from financial distress. And I have contacts within Michigan Department of Treasury that have assisted with financial planners for Maynard Casterson. And let's see, my college intern, paying her. She's going to graduate in 6 months debt-free with her master's in public administration. And like I said, I reach out to my resources. I tap my resources. I make sure that everybody is thriving. It's my goal. Like I don't like anger and bitterness doesn't go very far in life. How's my minutes?
Yeah. You have a brief opportunity to wrap up. And so.
Okay. Yeah, so a little bit about me. So I'm managing, like I said, $30 million in grants. And my typical operating budget is usually only about 3-4 million. But in the last year, I started at 5 million. I had to revise and amend the budget up to 20 million because we secured the water infrastructure funding. And then this year, my operating budget is 15 million, mainly due to infrastructure. Like I said, money in, money out. Thankfully, Eagle is super supportive of our distressed municipality. So we send them the invoices, they pay us, and as soon as it hits my bank account, it goes right out because the guidelines tell you 3 days. I'm really well versed in state and federal grant opportunities. Like I said, I would hope if I'm not the chosen one, somebody reaches out to your economic development and EDA.gov. If you Google search City of Beaverton's water infrastructure treatment plant from the EDA.gov, you will see that we succeeded.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So Amy, so then now that we're completed with this, are we going to begin? I'm going to do public comment here in just a minute. But then, are we still planning at 6:30 then for the public if they want to come meet the candidates? Just checking it. Okay. At this time, we're going to open it up for public comment. We're going to start inside the city chambers first. Just to reiterate, there is a 3-minute time limit, and for the record, please state your name and place of residence. Once we have exhausted all comment inside the chambers, we will then open it up to the Zoom participants. We will begin now inside the chambers. Hearing no public comment, we will open it up to the Zoom participants.
I want to hear from Kool-Aid Man.
I'm waiting just a second to make sure nobody is trying to connect over. All right, hearing no public comment, may I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.